Good evening, everyone, and welcome for tuning in on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. As the dirt content on the iRacing simulator has gotten more and more popular, we have here on RaceSpotTV a brand new dirt series coming at you on Monday and Thursday nights. The American Dirt Series kicks off on RaceSpotTV in just a few moments in the 360 sprint cars from USA International Speedway. Be there.
Just like a movie, just like a storybook, we are the future, we're the ones they won't overlook. It's time to be the hero. Like you've never seen, like you've never seen. Looking for a hero. Just like in a dream, just like in a
Good evening and welcome to the American Dirt Series, brought to you by Southern Indiana Lawn Care. Kicks off their championship tonight here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live from the USA International Speedway. Myself, Randy Chinnett, Davis Richards, and Hugo Louis bringing you all the action for the season opener for these guys. Davis, a fun little championship with both late models and a sprint car section. Heck, they're so busy, so popular, they've taken 2 whole nights up of our broadcast schedule.
Hey, I'm excited to be here, and we're going to see some really fast sprint cars tonight at USA International Speedway. We've got some big names in this field, and it's going to be a crazy night of racing.
So for those who are curious, the American Dirt Series does things a little bit differently from what you typically see, as you're about to see 5 cars hit the racetrack. Of course, the heat racing fundamental and program has been brought into iRacing in the recent years, well, in recent weeks, I should say. Well, they don't use that. These guys host their own little local night of dirt show action with the ways they do things. They still do it the old-fashioned way. If you saw the Spring Classic that Ian Plash put on a few months ago, I should say, he's doing things very, very similarly to this. So these guys, the way they're actually running this is it's all manually controlled, manual race controlled. Drivers and whatnot are put into heats manually, and the heats are run manually, and because of that, you get a very different and very unique format. So tonight, 5 drivers per qualifying, let's just say, split. These aren't races, these are hot lapping sessions. The way these were sorted are a random pill draw before the session ever went live. So you're going to see 5 drivers at a time come out, do qualifying laps, and that will set the drivers into 5 different heats. We'll be having 5 heats tonight. Top 2 from each heat race will go to the Trophy Dash. Then in the Trophy Dash, which will be an 8-lap show around this place, around USA International Speedway. That might get inverted depending on how cruel the pill draw decides to be. And then from there, the finishing order of that Trophy Dash will set the front rows of the A main. We will then have a C main, a B main, and then the 35-lap feature coming at you tonight. So it's a very, very complicated, but should be familiar to most people who've been to any American-style dirt track, I think, pretty much ever, Davis.
Oh yeah, this is a very familiar setting that people are used to seeing on their local short tracks on Friday or Saturday night, and these guys, they perfect it 100%. And like we said before, it's going to be a great night of racing, some really fast cars, and I believe they're about to start their first hot laps here pretty soon.
So we got 5 cars all lined up on pit road right now. It's Nathan Davis, Emil Miller, Terry Rennert, and Brock Garris, and Brad Nichols are the cars I see waiting on that pit road, waiting to get told to go so they can start running their hot laps out here in this one. So that's going to be group number 1 that we get logging laps here in just a moment. And as the cars begin to roll off, Nathan Davis, he's going to be going out there first as you see him roll up along the top side of corner number 1 and 2, just going a little bit under pace. Emil Miller, he'll get released in just a moment. Being sure to give all the cars and all the drivers a little bit of breathing space from one another. You don't want to have someone interfere with somebody. And as you can see, about a few second or so separation between each car here, as we're now got Brock out there on the racetrack, and Brad is still in his pit box. So I think we're just going to have 4 in this one as they come off down this front straightaway. Actually, we've had things slightly change on me here a little bit. There's going to be a D main in this one, in fact, so things are getting pretty hectic here as more and more names are popping into the race server here, Davis, because I wasn't expecting that. And D main, that's a lot of racing action in this one.
It's going to be a lot of racing and thrilled from every single corner, and I think we're going to see these drivers start to use that low line here, especially on these hot laps before that track really starts to slicken up.
So guys are starting their hot laps right now. Green flag has been waved as Nathan Davis, you see him running through the top side of 3 and 4. He's going to be our first driver to take the green flag and start a hot lap tonight. And this will be our first indication of what we can see from these 360 sprints tonight. Into 1 and 2 for the first time, down along the bottom. That inside groove is still very, very tacky and a lot of grip down there, down the back straightaway. Interestingly, Emil Miller, he's running the top with Terry Rennert running the middle. So first 3 cars all running different lines through 1 and 2. Off of 4 for the first time for Nathan Davis. His first lap going to be a 19.161. Next in line, we're going to have Emil Miller, and then, of course, Terry Rennert. Let's see what those guys can put in across this front straightaway. Terry Rennert goes a 19.5 with a 19.9 being put in by Emil, and then Brock Garris, he does a 19.5. So low to high 19s seems to be the pace right now.
It definitely is, and Nathan Davis, he's got the pole by 0.4 of a second. There's only 4 cars on the track right now, so I think we're going to see those times get closer and closer as these hot laps go on.
Everyone's still cycling through, running some times here as Nathan Davis, he's going to cycle through back on towards the front straight to complete his 3rd lap. That lap time is going to be a 19.2, so slowing off a little bit for Nathan. Let's see what the other drivers are going to be able to do. Is Terry Rennert and Emil Miller, they're coming across the timing being. Both of them, they've slowed down a little bit as well. 19.8 for Emil. Terry Rennert goes a 19.5, and Brock Garris comes to straight to a 19.5, as it's going to be Nathan again coming down the front straightaway, but that's going to be the end of their run, so he gets way out of that one. As the first set of times we have come through, 19.1, 19.4, 19.5, 19.8, so 7/10 separate the first 4 thus far.
Still some very competitive fast times, but I think these times are going to get even faster too as that track starts to really get a groove going, and it really starts to gain character as the night goes on.
That's going to be what you're seeing on this racetrack. As these guys drive over this dirt, that bottom groove is going to get slipperier and slipperier, and the fast line is going to have to move up the racetrack as we're going to be getting this next set of drivers into your run here in just a moment. But as we wait for that to come through, I mean, that's really the big talking point, isn't it, Davis? Except with the fact that this racetrack is going to get slicker and slicker. Those guys who are, I think, getting the ability to qualify here early, they're going to be the ones who really benefit, because really it's going to be that bottom side of the racetrack that's going to be good for these first couple groups, but might start to go away once we get into 3 and 4. While we have the likes of Batista, Miller, Williams, Bellum, and Hobbs, they're all getting themselves to go out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right too. I would rather be one of those first drivers to take the track first rather than later in these hot laps. But like you said, we got John Batista. He's already on the track and he's about to go into turn 3, but he's moving very slowly, and once he gets out of turn 4, he'll really throttle it down getting into 1.
So just getting everyone out there sorted on the racetrack and separated by a fair margin right now, so everyone's just sort of slowly putzing around the racetrack at the moment, but you'll be seeing these 360 sprint cars lit up here in just a moment. If you guys are used to the World of Outlaw content and the likes of what we do here at RaceSpot with the Friday Night Dirt Night, a little bit of difference between these sprint cars and the 410s that we typically see in those sessions. The 410s, they're identical in terms of their chassis, body style, wing, all the same. Only difference is the motor and the power output. You're talking about 120 or so horsepower difference, closer to 180 actually, horsepower difference between the 410s and 360s. 410s pumping out 900 horsepower, 360s pumping up around 720. As John Batista, he's going to come across the timing beam and begin his first lap. As let's see if that bottom groove's still going to be nice and sticky down along the bottom. He's a little bit up the racetrack from I think where he'd like to be, but a car width's up running about the middle as he heads towards 3 and 4.
And he's going into 3 and 4. He's able to get that nose right on the bottom of the track, and he's able to arc it out coming out of 4 and utilizing that high sign to gain all that momentum going into 1.
19.2 for Batista, his first lap through, and that means this track still nice and tacky. Ernie Williams Jr. is going to be coming across the stripe. Chad Miller, he just did a 19.2 as well, so that's only a few hundredths of a second separating those drivers. And still people cycling through out there on the racetrack. Lindsey Hobbs going to do a 19.81. That's going to put her about midway down the pack.
And she's going to be looking to capitalize on her second lap. She definitely wants to try to get at least a little bit faster before her hot lap's in.
So Ernie Williams is going to come across the time being, goes to a 19.7. That's going to bump him up one spot. John Batista, he has pole right here still with a 19.129, and he goes down to a 19.098. So he improves as he goes around this racetrack, and he's improved on every single lap. Lap 1 with a 19.2, down to a 19.1, down to a 19.0. Lindsey doesn't seem to be having the speed that they would want, so they're going to be pulling off the racetrack. Scott is coming down this front straightaway, 19.9 last time through, goes back down to a 19.8. Not enough to improve, but still going to be just the bragging rights to pick up a 10th or two. And I think qualifying group number 2 here, Davis, showing that there's very, very good speed on that track still.
Yeah, there's a lot of speed. We've seen John Batista get the pole right there with a 19.098. So still a lot of speed to be had, and these drivers are going to keep getting more and more comfortable after watching their competitors go out there.
So as we wait for qualifying group number 3, let's just run down your top 5 as they sit. John Batista currently has the pole at a 19.098, so basically a 19.1 even. Nathan Davis is in second, Chad Miller third, Brock Garrett fourth, and Terry Renner rounds out your top 5. And then Lindsey Hobbs, Ernie Williams, Emil Miller, Scott Bellum, and that is all of the qualifiers that have done laps thus far. Qualifying group number 3 heading themselves out onto the racetrack right now, and this is going to be Brad Spula, Lewis Hewlett, Austin Hanrick, Anthony Lepresto, and Tim Smith. They're going to be the 5 cars, and I have to say here, the name that jumps out to me immediately from this qualifying group is Lewis Hewlett, as they get the green flag, and Brad's going to lead them in towards 1 and 2 as they start their hot laps right now.
Lewis Hewlett, he's very comfortable in these dirt series. Most notably, the dirt midget watched him win a race this past week, so he's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Lewis is also a well-known name in the world of Outlaws 410 wing sprint cars. Very, very competitive driver, and they're going to come across the timing for the first time. 19.7 goes to Brad. Lewis is going to come across at a 19.9. Not the sort of time you would expect from Lewis, a little bit further down the order. Look for him to pick up on the following laps. Austin Hanrick, he's coming down the back straightaway. He did a 19.4, which puts him up amongst the top 5. And Anthony Lepresto, he's going to be around 7th right now as they're coming across the time being in their second lap. Brad goes to a 19.4, and Lewis improves to a 19.4. A big improvement there from the 666.
As it was, he was able to get into that 4th position, and Tim Smith is going to overtake him with a 19.322.
Tim showing good pace out there right here. Bradley comes across the time being once again. He goes to a 4.84 with Lewis Hewlett coming through. Austin Harnick is at a 19.5, does not improve from his 19.4 from early on, and Anthony Lepresto comes through 1 and 2 as well, as we're nearing the end of this qualifying group here in just a moment, as we're going to get everyone around at this racetrack one final time as we're getting ready to get going here with group number 4 just after these guys come through for their final times. I don't see any major improvements through those last couple of laps. Actually, Austin Harnick, he went to a 4.81, and that was his quickest lap of the session, and Anthony Presto, he's just a couple hundredths off as they're getting ready to grid the next qual group.
And Lewis Hewlett was able to jump up back into the 4th position and overtake Tim Smith again. He was able to improve about a 1/10 of a second to a 19.313 on his last lap.
So next qualifying group is currently sitting and waiting in the pit lane and rolling out onto the racetrack. You have Dylan Selman, another notable fast name in this series. You have Alex Bergeron. That should be a name that is known by many. Brandon Steele, he's currently setting himself out on the racetrack as well. And then Kyle Vincent Gilbert. But Selman and Bergeron, those are the names to watch, I think, here, Davis, in qualifying group number 4.
It will be very interesting to see what kind of lap time they can put up, and also to see how the track has changed, as we've only had 3 groups out, but I can already see that line, that bottom line, starting to slick it up.
Yeah, bottom groove is starting to slicken up just a little bit, but it still seems like there's some good dirt down there. Saw a number of cars down there, but it is starting to lose pace just a little bit, and that's going to be what we're talking about. These drivers are going to be a little bit deeper down and running in these later groups. That bottom groove is not going to be quite as viable, and you're going to have to move up the racetrack as everyone is still just pacing, waiting for race control to give them the green flag, and then we will be out and running here in qualifying group number 4. I believe it should be Dylan Selman that should be leading us to the green in this one. He's currently heading down your back straightaway at a nice leisurely pace, about 40 miles an hour, not 400 miles an hour. That would be record-breaking speeds as Dylan gets the green. See him immediately to the top side, trying to work the momentum on towards this front straightaway. Alex doing the same thing as they take the green for qualifying group number 4.
And we see Dylan Selman using that top line in 1 and 2, and you see the other drivers behind him using that top line as well.
So through top side of 3 and 4 once again for Dylan, and down the front straightaway, cross the time beam for the first time in just a moment. And let's see if these guys are competitive as we think they are. 19.4 for Selman first time through. Alex Berger onto the 19.4 as well. That seems to be where the bulk of your lap times are coming through, that 19.4 to 19.5 second bracket. Selman, he's going to investigate the bottom down in 3 and 4 and off towards your front straightaway, slides up the racetrack. Don't think he liked the way that stuck as he's going to come across the time being, improves by a couple hundreds, picks up a spot, and Alex is going to come through at a 19.4 as well. So I think the best lap times, Davis, were found in those first couple qualifying groups, and the track seems to be just flicking off here a little bit. The other two drivers of Gilbert and Steele, they're both around in the 19.6s.
Yeah, but we see Dylan Selman improving to a 19.306, and that's going to put him in the 4th position. Now Alex Bergeron comes across the line at 19.292, and he's going to be in the 4th spot.
So drivers getting ready to log their last couple laps here in this qual group. Dylan Selman's coming down the front straightaway. Going to be crossing that time beam at about a $130 and get off that throttle. He goes to a 377. That's not going to be an improvement for him. The next group's going to be getting themselves out there on the racetrack. Alex goes to a 484, but not an improvement for him either. Brandon Steele, a 19.7, and then Gilbert to a 19.6. So all those drivers got their quickest laps on lap number 2 or 3 of that run, as we're now getting qualifying group number 5 getting ready to form up and head out onto the racetrack.
I think it's going to be really tough to beat that 19.098 of John Batista. He was one of those early qualifying groups, but hey, there's still a bunch of fast drivers out here that have yet to take a lap around this track.
Still a number of drivers, and one of the ones to watch is going to be David Heileman in this 83. Also have Todd LeBoub, Travis Smith, Stephen Hill, and Michael Sheridan. They're going to be the drivers in this qualifying grid, or in this qualifying I keep wanting to say qualifying heats, but qualifying group is the way to think about it, as Heileman is currently logging himself out, still waiting on a couple drivers to get themselves enough space and get out onto the racetrack. Stephen Hill is rolling off towards corner number 2, and Michael Sheridan, he's waiting for a window, and he's going to come out just ahead of that first driver in this group of David Heileman. Probably need to reel in the Stephen Hill just a little bit here in that 127 as we're getting ready to start this group here in just a moment.
We are, as we see David Heileman. He's coming out of 1 and 2 right now. He's going to go down that backstretch and just wait for the admins or the race control to get the start of this heat. I'm sorry, hot lap.
So David's waiting for the green flag. I think we had one driver who may have gone a little bit early there, but David Heileman is sitting here just waiting, and he's going to get the green flag in the middle in 3 and 4, and he's going to take him down this front straightaway here for the first time, take the green flag on this session, and then have a couple other drivers as well, as he, I think, got slowed up. Not sure what's happening, and that is not the fast way around 1 and 2. So I think race control dealing with the fact that someone went a little bit early here on this racetrack. So I think we're going to be seeing this qualifying group get a little bit reset.
Yeah, if they're going to go down pit road and they're going to reset them, then the race control will straighten it out, and they'll be going here shortly.
So drivers resetting down on towards qualifying, the pit road here, and I'm sure getting a angry earful from race control about whatever it is they just saw that did not make them happy, and be getting everyone else back out there and reset out there on the racetrack. See them rolling their way down towards the pit road. And the pit road, David Heileman is just going to roll on out. He's the lead car, so no reason for him not to. Then it's going to be Todd LeBoub in just a moment, and then Travis Smith, as well as, of course, Stephen Hill and Michael Sheridan, the drivers rolling their way out here in just a second. It really has to be David in this split, Davis, that I think everyone's looking at to put down the quick time. He's the name that I at least recognize here. He's been very good on the Friday Night Dirt Night. Some of these drivers, of course, have not run in those races. That does not necessarily mean that they aren't a talented group, however.
As we could have a few guys in the back of this pack here, too, that people have not heard about. But, hey, it's anyone's race. Anyone can come out there, get the pole, and win out here. That's the great thing about racing.
It's definitely the best thing about these sorts of sprint car races, as well as waiting for that green flag, and they are going to get it here as Heilemann. He's going to be rolling off of corner number 2, so I think it's going to be Travis Smith who gets the green flag first into this qualifying split, and then Stephen Hill as well. So those are the two drivers that are going to be running hot laps first. Not sure if Travis Smith would have had a good run or not, but Stephen Hill, he's definitely going to be the one to watch here through this first qualifying lap. And let's see, what's he going to do as he comes across the timing beam? Is he going to be slow? That's going to be a 19.6 for Travis, so it's not quite up to the pole position pace, but still not slow by any means. 19.8 from Stephen Hill. Michael Sheridan goes to a 19.6 as well. David Heilemann, he's the one we've hyped up. He better not let us down, as he's going to go to a 19.5, fastest thus far as this group. And Todd LeBouf is down in the 20s.
And you see David Heilemann going down the backstretch right now. He started to use the middle line in 1 and 2, and 3 and 4. He's going to get it right against the edge of that wall on the inside. As he comes out of 4, we're going to see what kind of lap time he can put down.
David still does another 19.5, and that's not going to be much of an improvement for him. Only 7,000ths of a second, but it does notch him up one more spot here in this qualifying. Todd still in the 20s, 19.4 from Travis Smith, and Steven still around the 19.6s. He's been consistent last 2 laps, all within a couple thousandths of a second of one another. So Steven's got some good speed here. They're coming back down on the straightaway once again. Todd is finally down to the 19, so well done by Todd Heilemann, the 19.7s. So no one seems to be improving here late as this track is clicking up. And as I say that, Sheridan, he goes to a 19.4 on his last hot lap of this little session.
Michael Sheridan was the fastest one out of that group, so the track is definitely slicking up. We're seeing a drop-off of about 2 or 3 tenths from these drivers.
Talking about that, Davis, because one thing this championship does is they will not be reverting the track state whatsoever over this race. So the track is just going to get slicker and slicker and slicker over the night, and there's a lot of running that happens in these cars and in this series, especially from a typical official racing session. And that means that these guys have to have a very specific skill set. As Chris Brenner, he's leading us out for the next qual group.
And it'll be interesting, too, to see how these drivers adjust their setups and what little changes they make between these hot laps and these heat races, because that track is going to get very, very slick by the time we get to the A main.
So everyone's rolling out there on the racetrack right now, pretty much just waiting on Derek Walker to have themselves rolling out there in just a moment. We have, like I said, another 5 drivers coming through, just waiting. Derek's now rolling, going to get him nice and spaced out, make sure that no one's too close with one another, and then we'll be taking the green flag in this qual group. Doug Wyatt is also taking the racetrack. He will be the last person in this qualifying group. They're just waiting a couple people more here, and I think green flag just got waved, and indeed it did. The cars are spooling him up. David Jones is going to be the first across the timing beam, but I don't know if he's going to be the one to watch considering where he got to green. Derek Walker, he's going to be the first one with a good run across the start-finish line here as he heads into 1 and 2.
And he's using that bottom line again. He gets the edge of that car right up against that grass, and he's coming across the line. He's going to get a...
So across the line here, as we're going to be seeing the first set of hot laps here in just a moment. First couple I see are down in the 20s. Derek Walker goes to a 19.4, so mid-pack, and then next in line is going to be Doug Wyatt. He goes to a 19.9. Chris Brenner, not a great first lap, or not a great out lap from him, but he does a 19.5. Spoke a little bit too soon, as we got a 19.7 from Dakota out there, and David Jones in the 20s. So the lap times, Davis, are definitely getting higher and higher up here. It's going to be a slight improvement for Derek. He goes to a 4.29. That puts him up about 3 spots. 3 spots. He only improved by about 300s. That shows how competitive the field is right here, right now.
It is. As we see Chris Brenner, he comes across the line at a 19.480, so he is able to improve on that lap. But this track is starting to really slick off, and we're really starting to notice it here.
So Derek Walker is going to come across the time beam here and actually, no, that's the back straightaway, as I was paying attention to our TeamSpeak for a moment. So I am just the worst commentator ever. David Jones, he's going to be coming across the timing beam, though. goes to a 19.96. Struggling a little bit out there is that 00, as pretty much, I think, going to be the end of this group. You have Chris Brenner coming across towards the front straightaway right now. Quickest driver in this group. He did a 19.30 last couple earlier in this run. That was a 3.4, so very consistent is that 84 machine. Douglas Wyatt, he's coming through 3 and 4. See him running through the slick stuff down along the bottom of the racetrack and off down the front straightaway once again. That number 33 machine is going to go to an 8.01, and that is his best lap of the session, improved by 0.06 of a second from an 8.07, and unfortunately for him, not going to be enough to improve any spots as we're getting this next run group set up, and I think we have 2 or 3 more left to go.
And what we're going to see here is we've seen some fast names come out here, especially late here, but they're not getting the times that they would hope for because the track is starting to slick off. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of battles in these heats, especially at the back of the pack with these faster drivers having to get up to the front in a hurry.
So drivers coming out now for this qualifying group. You have Johnny Smith, Kyle Beck, Trevor Royer, and Derek Fisher. So it's going to be, looks like one of the smaller groups we've had thus far. Just 4 drivers. That's going to be Johnny rolling down the back straightaway right now. He should be the first driver to take the green flag. Kyle Beck, he'll be second. Then Trevor Royer and Derek Fisher will be the 4th one in line. Of course, their position doesn't necessarily have anything to do with their actual position in terms of competitiveness. It's just the way they got lined up. As before this session launched, before any hot laps had ever been turned, they just went out and they did a random pill draw. Green flag flies, and Johnny Smith, he's rolling in towards 1 and 2 on his hot lap. Kyle Beck's across the timing now, and then Trevor and Derek, they'll be the next 2 to come across.
Kyle Beck, he's going to be one to watch right here. He's going down the back stretch here, coming into 3 and 4. Still seeing him use that low line, but as I say that, Kyle Beck uses that upper middle high line coming out of 4.
It's one of those things, isn't it, Davis, where when you build a qualifying setup for most of these guys, qualifying setups are usually built to run the bottom, and they're usually built for the track to be tacky. A lot of these guys, a lot of these drivers, they've never qualified in a track like this before that's this slickened up unless they're experienced in this championship. The first set of times coming through seems to be mid to high 19s. Got one driver in the 20s. Fastest I see thus far out of this group, somewhere in the 19.4s, 19.5s.
And that's still a very good time with how late we are in this session.
I mean, hell, 19.4 is 19.5. Trevor Royer just put in a 19.36. That puts him in the upper 10 drivers thus far out there on the racetrack. Derek Fisher, 19.6. Let's see if he can improve on that as he comes across. Well, he improved by an entire 1,000th of a second. His fast lap, though, is a 5.92, so no improvement for him. Johnny Smith, I think, is out of gas, and he's pulling it onto pit road. Kyle Beck's going to come down this straightaway. And fast lap thus far, 19.79, and 19.70 is going to be his last lap in the session, so Kyle's going to be more than happy about that, as Trevor was down in the 19.3s, and his fastest lap was the second in the session, so no improvement there. And that's another thing I've noticed, Davis, from these guys, is the lap times have been, people tend to be hitting their quick lap either on their second trip around the racetrack or on their 4th. I'm noticing the first and third trip around this circuit here at USA International Speedway has not been the most competitive for pretty much everyone in all these qual groups thus far.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, and but Travis Royal putting up a 19.365. That's one of the fastest laps we've seen since about the second or third qualifying group.
Fastest laps indeed here as we're waiting for this, what should be, I think, the penultimate qualifying group to get out there onto the racetrack. And we have, let's see, Craig Levon, John Fowler, and Robert Kurtzetter out there in these cars. So maybe only 3 people. We might have 3 more qualifying groups before this thing is done, as people are out there and rolling. Craig through corner number 2. John Fowler will be getting the go-ahead here in just a moment. And then Robert Kurtzetter here getting maybe a little impatient to roll just after. But only 3 drivers here in this one. And, well, that might be a little bit more boring to watch. Very nice and easy for us, Davis, because it's going to be easier to follow. Oh,
it definitely will be. It's been a challenge keeping up with these drivers to see who's out and what times they're running.
So just waiting for this green flag to get waved for everyone to go out there and running. John Fowler is rolling a little bit hot. I think he's going to have to give up a little bit of speed here to Craig Levon. As Robert Kurtzetter, he's already up and wheeling it. And the green flag just only went flying here. So we might see another little bit of a reset as these two are really stacked up as they approach down this back straightaway off of corner number 2. Craig didn't seem to have that car really woed up and underneath them through 1 and 2, and now through 3 and 4. You see the 22 running the middle, the 610 running the top, and then across the front straightaway for the first time. 21.6 for Craig, very far off the mark, and a 21 flat for John. Not a very particularly hot lap as Robert seems to be the quickest of these three, as he's going to be a 19.5 his first trip around the racetrack. And
he's the only one that got about the first full lap on this first lap here, so this is going to be the lap to watch for these other two drivers in front of him.
So across the time being 19.8 for Craig, and this is going to be a 19.8 as well for John. Both of those drivers within a couple hundreds, but still getting themselves very, very tight here out there on the racetrack. Excuse me, it's a 19.9 for Craig, as I misread that character, and a 19.4 from Robert, down to a 4.09. Quickest we've seen in a while, if memory serves me right. Trevor just a little bit ago went to a 3.65. 19.5 this time for Robert, but this is going to be lap number 4, which you've seen traditionally be quick from these guys. I think Robert might just have a quick one here as he comes off 3 and 4.
And we see Craig Levan coming off turn 4 right here. He's going to try to get everything he can out of it. He's going to go to a 19.965, so definitely not the time he wanted to have.
And it's a big improvement from Robert Kurtzetter, 8 thousandths of a second. It does bump him just ahead of the 20 of Derek Walker, however, so an improvement nonetheless, as that might be our last group, in fact, as now I'm looking at the names that haven't done laps. Let's see, well, we have a couple more cars out there on the racetrack. I believe that should be the end of our qualifying, which means we'll be getting our heat races gridded up here in just a second. As we said, these things happen manually, so going to be a few minutes here, Davis, of us waiting and getting the grids here for what those heat races will be. But John Batista taking the pole in the opening round of the championship. 19.098 for him, only driver to duck under the ones.
It was a very fast time that we see John Batista go out there, but Nathan Davis sitting in second with a 19.161, and then Chad Miller with a 19.277. So those top two drivers, John Batista and Nathan Davis, increased their marginal lead by over 2/10 of the rest of the field, by 1 to 2/10 over the rest of the field.
Davis, your other gig is watching in the chat, the OSR network, and it wouldn't be RaceSpot if we didn't start a little bit of a fight between broadcasters here. So who do you like better thus far?
Between y'all or OSR?
Yeah, that's the question.
Oh man, I love broadcasting out for OSR network. We always have a good time here. So this is my first race here, so I really can't comment on that. But hey, either way, I love getting up here in the booth. I love having fun. It's great. Getting the opportunity to broadcast with y'all, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, you didn't say you liked us better, so you're fired. But waiting on these heat races to get gridded up here, so just waiting on Blake and Cody to get done and finished with that. As believe, as I hear my messenger and my portal to race control, I believe we're starting to get those heats gridded up, and indeed we are here. Going to be eight car heats here. Heat number 1 is going to be Batista, Brenner, Walker, Sheridan, Hobbs, Beck, LeBoob, and Carey. So those are going to be the first time when we see these cars out there and angry in racing conditions. And now one thing for you guys who may be used to doing racing on the iRacing service, a little bit of an interesting thing for this championship, because the way they have to do this, obviously they're doing a lot of laps and a lot of running between practice and qualifying sessions. And if you're familiar with a hosted session, you know what I'm talking about with that. So in the heat races, yellow laps do not count, and they are manually controlled by race control. So the only time that you will see yellow flag laps count all night tonight, Davis, will be in that feature, which will be using later on down the road.
So they've got a more real aspect to the thing, to the racing. So we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on it.
So just waiting on them to finish up getting everyone out there and sorted here. Like I said, we're starting to get the heat races here in just a second, but not quite finished just yet. And like I said, they're just sorting the heat races right now. They haven't actually finished well, they haven't even really started getting the drivers set, and actually that might be changing right now as Chris Brenner gets into his 360 winning sprint car. As
we're going to start to see him start that first heat here pretty soon. So we're going to have a lot of fast guys in there, and I think it's going to be a lot of close action, especially with these guys that qualified later in the race, because they're going to be starting in the back more than they would like to. So they're going to be trying everything they can to get up to the front as quick as possible and guaranteeing them a spot in the A main.
So drivers getting themselves on the racetrack right now, and give us a couple moments. We'll give race control a couple moments to get themselves sorted here for heat race number 1 as I reopen my document here. And just to reiterate here, going to be John Bautista on pole, Brenner in 2nd, Walker in 3rd, Sheridan 4th, Hobbs in 5th, Beck 6th, LeBoob in 7th, and Carey in the 8th spot. So 8 cars, 8 laps, top 2 transfer to the trophy dash, and that's important because memory serves me right. That's your only direct portal from these heat races to the A main. So if you don't win one of these heat races, Davis, you've got to do it through a C or B main, or a D, C, and then potentially a B main if you're someone who's not having a great run tonight.
Yeah, you are. So you're definitely going to want to get in the top 2 one of these heats, because anything can happen, especially in those later B, C, or D mains, as everyone is going to be fighting really hard, and you're going to see a lot of aggressive driving trying to guarantee them a spot in that A main.
The car is still just sitting down on the pit road as I think they have a handful of new guys, so everyone's just a little bit confused, making sure they get everything happening here. Just some of the things that happen in a new championship here, and especially with a unique format that is done manually through race control rather than through the automated iRacing system, which everyone is so familiar with. And one of the other things, Davis, getting through those mains and whatnot, and the heats and the mains and everything in the trophy dash, you do not get any resets. So if you go out here for a heat race, and if you dump the car and put it on its lid on the 2nd lap, you don't get to just reset the car and come back out onto the racetrack, even though you're technically in a practice session on the iRacing service. So if you get dumped or if you get wrecked, you have to essentially, you're basically just committing yourself to having to go through one of those bottom mains, D main or C main at some point in the night. So these guys have to be very careful with one another and how they approach these heat races.
They really are. As we start to see these cars roll out, and they're going to get gridded up right here, and we're going to have John Bautista. He's going to lead us in this first grid, followed by Brenner, Walker, and Sheridan.
So I do not think we'll be going this time, as field isn't anywhere nearly set up. And see, they're going to come on towards the front straightaway here, and nope, indeed they will not. So just a little bit of pacing here as far as we get the rest of the grid formed up here. As like you said, it looks like it's going to be 7 cars. So Bautista, Brenner, Sheridan, Walker, Hobbs, Beck, and LeBoob is who I see on the racetrack right now. They roll through 1 and 2 and get ready to head down this back straightaway. I think we should be going green here in just a moment. So off and towards 3 and 4 they come, as John Bautista should be the one leading them to the green flag here. And here on RaceSpot and iRacing Live, we will be bringing you the first laps of racing from the American Dirt Series, brought to you by Indiana Lawn Care. Green flag is out. John Bautista leads them into 1 and 2 for the first of 8 laps here in heat race number 1. They're through. The 15 machine runs through the slick, pushes way up the racetrack though. I think he's going to be looking to the top side into 3 and 4.
And Chris Brenner is going to be following Bautista. He's getting right on that low line, but then we see a battle heating up for 2nd and 3rd, but now we see a battle for the lead as Chris Brenner starts to get right beside Bautista. He's going to try to get on that low line, but he's going to have to defend that position as the number 20 is right on his tail.
Brenner's liking the bottom right now as he's running 3rd, but he has Derek Walker looking to the top side by side for 2nd. Top 2 advance to the trophy dash, so this is important as Brenner's going to roll them off down this front straightaway once again. Coming to lap number 3 of 8. Brenner still just leading from Derek Walker, who's almost touched as they roll through 1 and 2. Top side of the racetrack not quite coming in, and Brenner's car working excellently down on the bottom, running through the stick. Half distance in this heat race as they come off of 4.
And Walker starts to lose a little bit of momentum and has to regain the control coming out of 4. And now we see the 84 of Brenner right up on the tail of Bautista. He's following him line by line, and he's looking to get as much momentum as he can going down the backstretch.
Into 3 and 4 once again. Walker and Brenner running line of stern on the bottom. Everyone's still liking the slick. It looks like 84. Big head of steam. And then come off toward the front straightaway. Come to 3 laps to go. Brenner going to look to the inside of John Batista. Will he be able to make that stick? Slides up the racetrack. 15. Drives it back down to the bottom. Works the momentum down this back straightaway. In towards 3 and 4. Coming to 2 to go. 15 machine leads right now. Brenner trying to slide himself right in front of Walker, Batista, but not quite able to do it just yet.
He's still using that low line. He's side by side. They got to be careful not to wreck. He's going to try to pull the slide job in front of him, but he has to lift out of it not to wreck each other.
Through 3 and 4 they come. Brenner fighting really hard with Batista. Batista once again slaps up the racetrack through the slick stuff, coming on towards the front straightaway. White flag's gonna be waving this time by as the 84 works down on the bottom of the tacky stuff. There's still a little bit of dirt through the middle of the corner as he gets a bit of momentum. Derek Walker is sitting there wanting one of these top 2 positions. He doesn't want to have to go through one of the lower mains to get himself in, as Brenner's gonna get a big head of steam. Might be a drag race to the checker, but no. John Batista able to hold on here as they run through 1 and 2, with Brenner and Walker still sitting out there as well. Apparently the lap count has changed from my knowledge. John Batista is still leading towards 3 and 4, so we're still rolling.
As we are still rolling right there, as he's going right below Batista. And he's got to be careful here because he's in that second spot, so he will be able to transfer if he can just hold on to what he's got, and I think it's over.
So I need to go to school because I apparently forgot how to count. It was 8 laps, but I skipped one at one point, so that is my apologies. But the running order didn't change, so if we could just hit the time warp and just, you know, move my commentary up 1 lap, it would be great. But Batista and Brenner, they're going to be the drivers who transfer directly to the trophy dash and thus to the A main, and it's going to be Walker, Sheridan, Hobbs, and Todd who will round out this heat, and of course Kyle Beck, who's way down the order there, so he didn't have quite the heat race that he would like, but that was a nice, fun, and it was eventful. It was an eventful heat race in all the right ways.
It definitely was, and if this is any forecast of what we're going to see later with these A, B, and C mains, then it's going to be a fun night of watching these sprint cars.
So as race control has the drivers just slotted themselves on the back straightaway to keep track of who is where, and I'm going to go do a little bit of kindergarten to learn how to count in this one. I have to say, what a way to kick off the American Dirt Series. First heat race we've had, and, well, I've already done a swing and a miss in terms of my ability to do math, but still fantastic driving by everyone in that heat, and a big win there from Batista to win the first heat race here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live for the American Dirt Series, and as well for Chris Brenner to take that second spot and get him into the main.
It was, and with this heat 2, as they're going to get ready to grid up here any second, we're going to have Davis starting out in first, Hewitt, that's another big name in second, Hellerman, that's another big name in third, Travis Smith, Fisher, Williams, another Smith, and Nichols. So we've got some big heavy hitters in this second heat, and it's definitely going to be one to watch.
So just keeping track here, and we get ready to get heat race number 2 out here and rolling. We seem to have the names, but no one, of course, out there on the racetrack just yet. And like you said, couple big hitters. Hewitt's in this, Heilemann is in this, and like I said, Nathan Davis as well. I think those are the 3 names that we're going to be really watching, because really, Davis, Hewitt, and Heilemann, Hewitt and Heilemann in particular, they're both drivers that have been very competitive on our Friday night dirt nights with our World of Outlaw broadcast coverage. So all 3 of these drivers, I would say, have a chance of winning this heat race. And the big thing, one of these drivers is not going to the trophy dash, and thus far is going to have to run it to the B main somehow.
So that just adds to the trauma as we get closer and closer, and we start to see him get to that end of pit lane to get ready to go out on track.
So field getting themselves set as Nathan Davis will be setting to lead them off here as we're showing you the starting grid once again for heat race number 2. Going to be Nathan Davis, Lewis Hewitt, David Heilemann, Travis Smith, going to be Mr. Fisher, and then Williams, Smith, and Nichols rounding out heat race number 2 in this one. And we believe we have everyone set on the grid as Ernie and Johnny are sitting there lurking, so just getting ready to get released from race control. Maybe have to get some virtual ATVs behind these 360 sprint cars to give them a bit of a push off, and will be going green in this heat race, and another exciting 8 laps. And let's see, I think these guys in heat race number 2, they just saw what heat race number 1 provided. They better step it up, and hopefully they can bring us a good show.
They definitely will, and I'm telling you that that 666 of Lewis Hewitt is definitely going to be one to watch. I've seen him most out of these other drivers race on here, so I know he can wheel that thing around, but like we said before, he's got some heavy hitters behind him and beside him, so it's definitely going to be crazy.
Field rolling through corners number 3 and 4. Let's see if they get the green flag in this one. I do not think so. They're not very well formed up, so not too many flagmen in the United States, I think, would release a heat race lined up like that, so it's going to be at least one more trip around this racetrack to get themselves set and going here. Off towards 1 and 2 they go, and Davis, let's pick one. One of the most favorite things I do when I go to racetracks, try to pick cars out of heat races for who's going to win. So who's your name? You've already named Lewis, so I can already give a prediction of what your prediction is. I can predict your prediction.
Well, I've been on the end of the broadcaster's curse before, so I guess I'll go ahead and go with the 666. So hopefully we can break the broadcaster's curse and see what he can do out there.
So Lewis, when you end up on that rear wing or hanging from the catch fence, you can come catch David Richards somewhere in the parking lot afterwards. But they come off course corner number 4. Nathan Davis is going to get that green flag, and we're going to get lap number 1 of 8 sorted here as they work themselves down in towards 1 and 2. Lewis going to try to hold that 3rd spot, but David down along the bottom. David Heilemann trying to get a good run. He's going to take that 2nd spot away. So Lewis Hewitt, he's going to have to fight for it along the top side as they come to the end of lap number 1.
And look at him get that momentum on that high side. He's going to even up right beside him. He's actually going to be able to clear him coming into turn 2.
So a good run there from Lewis on the top side of the racetrack. I think that bottom is slowly starting to go away here as you see Lewis working that top side, working momentum as they come to the end of lap number 2 here in this one. And down at this front straightaway once again, Heilemann is going to be trying his hardest to get himself up into that 2nd spot somehow, some way. He goes to the top. There's about an even split here from drivers running the bottom, running from the top, but notably Nathan Davis currently leading the pack. He is running that bottom side of the racetrack. Everyone else is certainly going away from it, I think.
Yeah, they are, but then we see Heilemann, he decides to use that bottom line in 4 right there, but he's going to use the top line in 1 and 2, and I think he's figuring something out and trying to see how this track is going to change and which line is best to go.
Down through 3 and 4 once again, coming to the end of lap number 4, so it's going to be half distance in the heat race right here. There's a 36 of Nathan Davis. He's going to continue to lead the way from the 666 of Lewis Hewitt. Fight is on a little bit deeper down the order between the 46 and the 39. That's Derek Fisher and Travis Smith. They're just arguing just for bragging rights at this point because neither of those drivers in a position to really transfer right now. And it's all between the top 2 of Lewis and Nathan, the 36 and the 666. They roll through 1 and 2, 5 laps down, and Lewis working the top side of the racetrack, going to try to get a run, trying to fight for the race lead, and Lewis, power move on the top side up on the cushion. He's going to take the race lead through 3 and 4.
But that 36 is going to be battling back as he's following him right on out of 3 and 4 on that high line. We're going to see if he has got anything for him in 1 and 2. He goes to use that bottom line as they're side by side. I don't know who's going to get the momentum. It's going to be the 666 getting the momentum out of 2.
That bottom groove slowly starting to go away because of so many drivers qualified on the bottom. Still a lot of good dirt up top as they come across this start-finish line, this front straightaway. End of lap number 7, starting lap number 8 right here, right now. Lewis Hewitt has, in that 666 machine, a little bit of a buffer from the 36 and Nathan Davis down this back straightaway for the final time, and in towards 3 and 4 they're going to come. Still working the top side of the racetrack. Big move in the background. David Heilemann trying to hold on to that 3rd spot. He's going to be nowhere near transferring here. This is going to be Nathan and Lewis here at the end of this one who are going to transfer their way in, and Lewis Hewitt wins heat race number 2 and another fantastic and clean all the way through heat race to get through here on heat race number 2.
And that was an awesome heat race, like you said. And hey, I think we broke the broadcaster's curse as the 666 of Lewis Hewitt got the heat race win.
Yeah, indeed. Very well done there by Hewitt to break that broadcaster's curse. That's the main thing. And David Heilemann, he's going to be one of those drivers who's a little bit salty that he has to go through because that was a very, very fast race car in that 83 machine.
It was very fast, but I think we'll see him transfer into that A main because he'll still have a very good starting position in the in these later mains and whichever one he grids up in.
So admin's getting themselves the post-race results here. You can see all the cars lined up and just chilling on that back straightaway as they fill in that spreadsheet, make sure everything's running here, but they've just gotten released to get those cars back onto pit road, and we'll be getting heat race number 3 here coming at you in just a moment, and that's going to have Chad Miller, going to have Tim Smith in it. A lot of big names here in heat race number 3, Davis.
Yeah, some very big names. We've all seen those names before. So, like I said, this race has got a ton of heavy hitters, and we're seeing that here, and it's being represented by the racing that these guys are showing here tonight.
Heat race number 3 going to be Miller, Smith, Speidel, Garrett, Steele, another Miller, and Jones as they're getting themselves sorted out there on the racetrack here in just a moment. So right now, just chatting with race control is getting themselves sorted here. So but we should be going back to green here in just a couple of minutes after we cycled through some pace laps. This has put on some good showing thus far here, Davis. First night out in the American Dirt Series. Of course, I don't want to say as intense as what we typically do on Friday night with Friday Night Dirt Night, because that just goes directly into heats. This has a little bit more of the dead space between stuff happening that you typically get as a real American racetrack, but that's one of the things that's great. You can sort of sit and reflect about the great racing and the competitive names we've seen on track thus far.
You definitely can, and speaking of reflecting back, like we've talked about before, we're starting to see that bottom line lose a lot of speed as he's starting to really slicken up. But I think that top side, we're going to see more and more drivers start their heat races using that line going into turn 1. So we're definitely going to have to see how it plays out here. These drivers have been taking notes and see what they do.
I mean, and that's one of the main things, isn't it? The fact that that bottom groove is going away. The thing to keep in mind isn't only the fact that groove is going away, but think about what we're going to be seeing from that top groove as we get more and more racing. People are going to start flocking to that top side of the racetrack, and because of that top groove is eventually going to go away here once we get deeper into this one. I think about the end of the C main, maybe into the B main. I think that top groove might be dead because we still have 3 more heats to run, a trophy dash, and then we have all those D main, C main, B main, A main to run tonight.
And you're definitely right. So once the top lane wears out, these drivers are just going to be trying to find any little spot they can. And something cool as well as this track is as it gets tackied up and these cars start to go over it, the track will get really rough, and you can feel that in your sprint car as well, as it'll start to jolt up and down and hit like potholes per se.
Yeah, you can definitely feel those bumps over the course of these ones as we're getting ready for heat race number 3 to roll off. And just to roll down your starting grid once more in case you've not been here, it's going to be Chad Miller, Tim Smith, Brad Speidel, Brock Garris, Brandon Steele, Eric Miller, and David Jones will be the drivers in this one. I think we might be waiting on one more person to get themselves out there, but at the moment it's looking like it's going to be a 7-car one, and indeed it is. There's a bit of an empty spot that made me think a car was supposed to be filling it, but I was incorrect. I think we're going to loon soon enough, Davis, in this championship that I don't know what I'm talking about most of the time.
Hey, that's fine, because I'm right there with you.
Down the back straightaway once again, and commentator's curse did not strike Mr. Davis Richards the last time out. So, Davis, who do you think is going to be the one to bring home the checkers here in heat race number 3?
Hey, I'm liking that 38 car of Tim Smith, and I think he's got what it takes here to pull out that win.
So on down the back straightaway for all these guys, and we'll be having themselves released here in just 75, well, 3/4 of a mile, I think the best way to describe it. And I was going to say 75 1/100ths of a mile, but unless you're a machinist, I don't think you'd understand that, even though it's technically 750 thousandths of a mile. But down this back straightaway, Tim Smith, he's going to be the one looking to shake the commentator's curse, and Chad Miller, he was, of course, the quickest in qualifying, so he's one to watch here as they head down towards this back straightaway into 1 and 2. Going to be eyeing these drivers, and they're going to be looking at that racetrack, seeing how slick that bottom has gotten, and thinking, where should I go out there? His green flag's going to fly, and Chad Miller, he's going to bring us here to the beginning of heat race number 3, down the back straightaway into 1 and 2 for the first time. It is comfortable for Miller and Smith, but it's a gaggle of cars in your mid-pack. They're going to be 3 wide down the back straightaway for lap number 1.
And that's that 555 of Brad Spindle right there, as he's able to pull a little gap between them. He wanted to get away from there as quick as possible, but now we're going to have a battle for that second place with the 555 the 16 of Chad Miller.
So Chad Miller and Tim Smith in the 38, they're going to be tight here as they roll themselves off towards 3 and 4, both in the 16 and the 38. They're going to be tight. I think we're going to get a caution here for a spin in the background. Indeed, we are. It was David Jones, I believe, who ended up facing the wrong way. Yeah, it was. Bit of a pile up in towards 1 and 2. The 26 actually wasn't really David's fault. Emil Miller just came up the racetrack and kind of sideswiped him, running him through the slick just a little bit. So that number 26 car not quite as happy and planted as he would like. And David Jones, he's going to go to the back of his heat race. And once again, the slow pace laps, they do not count in this one. So we've only got a couple of laps. I think it's 2 laps thus far locked complete.
There was only 2 laps complete there, so we're still going to have about 6 left to see what these drivers can do and to see if the 38 of Tim Smith can get up there and battle the 16 of Chad Miller for that lead. But like we said, the top 2 transfer.
Coming back to green here as they work themselves down this front straightaway. This will be lap number 3, I believe, as Chad Miller is going to lead them off down through the top side of the racetrack. 5 drivers, working the top, 2 along the bottom as everyone's not liking that bottom groove of the racetrack. And Brad Speidel in the 555, he's already struggling off that top side of the racetrack, getting a little bit of oversteer, and that slickness might be affecting you even if you're driving off that top side, David.
Yeah, I think it is too. And you see that 555 that he messed up there. Now he's having to battle for that 3rd position to keep it, but that's not the position he wants to be battling. He wants to get in that 2nd, especially that 38 of Tim Smith, to be able to transfer.
So in towards 1 and 2 once again, and Tim Smith, he's working that bottom side of the racetrack, wants the race lead really bad as they come off down this front straightaway in towards a couple corners, but not going to be able to take that race lead just yet. As Chad Miller in the 16 just sitting there chilling, just a couple car lengths off. We've got 1 car on the lid down the back straightaway. Who is that? That is the 05 of Brandon Steele. Big issues for him. That's definitely going to be a caution here in this one, as he somehow is able to work the momentum and get that car back up on its wheels. Somehow is going to escape major damage, I think, is, let's see, what was the issue for him as he came off corner number 2? He just simply drove it up in the wall all on his lonesome.
He did, but luckily for him, I don't see a lot of damage out of that car.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice when you can put the car on its lid, as they're going to actually keep rolling here. So that's a little bit of a surprise for me as Miller works the top side of the racetrack still with the race lead. Tim Smith, he's still sitting out there, as well as Chad Miller gets a little bit loose off of 2. That's going to cost him a little bit of time, and the sliders going to get thrown by Tim Smith. 38 trying to fight for that race lead here as they come down this front straightaway here. Going to come across the time beat, and Chad Miller leads the race still as they work themselves through corners number 1 and 2. Top side of the racetrack is where Tim Smith goes this time, and I think Tim may have had one opportunity to take that race lead, but wasn't quite able to do it. Through 3 and 4, they're going to come once again, and down this front straightaway. Let's see, can Chad be a little bit more calm, cool, and collected? He taps the wall and might give Mr. Tim Smith another opportunity into 1 and 2.
And Chad's got to be really careful here. He's going to transfer just if he can hold that 1st or 2nd spot, but if he wrecks, he's not going to be able to transfer, and that 38 of Tim Smith is all over the back of his car.
Tim Smith goes back down to the bottom, running through the slick just a little bit, not quite able to maintain the momentum because of it. Top groove still a little bit too strong with the dirt, and Chad Miller and Tim Smith are the drivers who are going to win heat race number 3. And this one, a good show. The first couple heats, Davis, went a little bit, let's just say, perfectly clean and put on good racing. This one, a little bit more calamity happening.
Yeah, and I think that's the reasoning for that is because this track is flicking it up so much. So these drivers, this is the first time out since their qualifying lap, so they're trying to find a line to go with. And you see that high line, a lot of drivers have been flocking to that one, but even that's starting to slick up a lot.
So admin's getting themselves sorted here, getting the post-race results solidly sorted and put into the Excel spreadsheets to grid the features that we have coming a little bit later tonight. But some big hitters already going into this trophy dash. You have John Batista and of course Chris Brenner. They were the transfers from the top, not the top heat, but the first heat, heat 2, Lewis Hewitt and Nathan Davis, and Chad Miller and Tim Smith. So 6 very, very fast drivers and 6 very fast names already going through, and we got 2 more names that will be bringing you through these last couple heats that'll be transferring there. That trophy dash, I think, is going to be a ton of fun to watch. It's going to be the first time a number of these drivers have been on track together.
Yeah, it will be. So this A main is already set up. So this trophy dash will just be for bragging rights and to see who starts where once we get that A main underway.
still getting the results sorted and tabulated, and then we'll be bringing you heat race number 4, which I do have the grid for, if I can just get myself to the right screen. That's going to be Alex Bergeron, Royer, Lepresto, Gilbert, Hill, Wyatt, and Levan, as they're getting ready to get those guys sorted here in just a moment. And I think that the easy one to really predict there is going to be that number 1 machine. Well, actually, he may not be the number 1 machine. I'm used to him being the number 1 machine. He's the number 19 machine of Alex Bergeron. I think he's the one that I think just about everyone would look at this heat race and be like, good win, Bergeron. Wouldn't you say, Davis?
Yeah, I definitely do. He's definitely a heavy hitter, and we're definitely going to be one to watch here, as we've seen a lot of close action racing. But yeah, Alex Bergeron, he's I guess you just call it a family household name here on High Racing. So everyone knows his name, and everyone knows that he's got the speed to contend for the win.
So, just waiting again on everyone to get themselves out there. Let's just say rating on race control just a little bit, getting a little bit of a breather here. Rest the vocal cords. And which of your heats thus far has been your favorites? They've all been pretty interesting. Heat 1, I think, probably had some of the best racing in it. But Heat 3, if you like Calamity, it's the one who had the Calamity in it. Heat 2 has just sort of been... Heat 2 is a good heat, but Heat 1 and 3, I think, were maybe a little bit more preferred by most. Granted, you didn't jinx Lewis Hewitt in Heat Race number 1 or 2, so that's probably been your favorite thus far.
Yeah, it definitely was, but I mean, Tim Smith, he's still transferred, but I called him and said he was the winner, but he didn't wreck, so I still think we're gonna call that one 2 for 2. But this next heat coming up, it's gonna be definitely one to watch, and I think we're gonna see a lot of action in it.
Indeed we are, as we're getting people set out there. You see Douglas Wyatt. He got into the sessions. He was one of the leading pit boxes here, but he's starting a little bit deeper in this heat race, so he's just manually cycling himself backwards on the racetrack. Got to be really careful with that so you don't get DQ'd by the sim, because I do not believe that is reversible, as getting the field out there and sorted here in this one.
So,
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, Randy, what do you think? What's been your favorite part? How do you think this race is going to play out? Do you think we're going to see more drivers going towards that top side like we've already seen, or is some drivers going to be trying to find a groove in the middle of the track?
Top side is going to be the place to be, I think, just generally speaking. I think there might be just a little bit of time if you want to work that bottom groove in this heat race. But I think going into heat race number 5 in the trophy dash, I think they're both just going to be, running up against the wall, running up against the cushion. So my prediction here is going to be that the top side of the racetrack is going to be the end of the racetrack that you want to be, at least from the next heat and then into the trophy dashes. But I think once we get to the feature, considering we have a couple more races to run to even set the features, and then we have the features, and then for our main feature event, of course, I think that top side is going to start to go away, and I think the bottom's going to open it up.
Okay, so you think we'll see these drivers start to utilize that bottom side again once we get to those trophy dash and last heat?
I wouldn't say the trophy dash. I think it's going to be deeper on. I don't think we're going to see the top's going to go away, but I don't think it's going to go away for a few races just yet. That's my opinion, as the cars are getting themselves sorted out there on the racetrack. And I've given it to you a couple times, Davis. Who's going to be the commentator's curse this time? And you cannot pick Bergeron.
Well, I already made up my mind on that one, so I'm gonna have to go with Royer. He qualified very deep in the qualifying, and he was still able to put up a very fast time with a 19.365. So he's definitely going to be one to watch, and I'm going to give him the commentator's curse.
Well, that is mostly unfortunate for sure, as these drivers are getting themselves sorted now out onto the racetrack. Been released by Race Control, and we will be going green after a couple of circuits under caution around this place. And, well, Bergeron definitely the one to watch, and still a couple of drivers that could be a little bit of a dark horse in this one. I'm going to root for Mr. Craig Levan in that 610 car. One of the slower drivers in qualifying, slowest driver in qualifying, in fact, at a 19.911. So I think he's going to be the one to pick up a lot of spots and say, you know what, I'm not good at hot lapping, but I can race. But hopefully that can end up happening, and hopefully he and I can both be very happy campers.
Hey, you're absolutely right on that one too. He just might have had a bad hot lap session there, so definitely gonna be one to watch. See if he can come up through the field, and see what can happen.
So down the back straightaway they're going to come, and Bergeron's going to look to try to make this a quick and clean heat race here in this one, especially with Trevor Royer starting on that outside. 19.365 for Trevor versus a 2.92 for Bergeron in qualifying. So a tenth of a second difference between them as they're going to run through 3 and 4. Bergeron's going to have to get on that throttle pedal from the slick stuff, and he does so very well. Gets a nice clean jump here. They think we may have had a little contact in that second line, but for thus far, we're all through clean here on the start of heat race number 4. Bergeron's got a couple car lengths. Breakaway is the real close fight between the 57 and the 90 for second.
It is that 90's got about a 2 or 3 sprint car gap on him right there, but now the battle's heating up with the 1 car, and he's got a heavy hitter behind him trying to get around him going into 1 and 2.
A little bit of contact in the background. One driver, I'm not sure who that is, didn't quite see it, as the 22 of John Fowler threw a big move down in towards 1 and 2, wasn't quite able to make it stick, so he's going to pay the price as the race leader at 19 of Alex Bergeron is still out there and leading in this one. He's going to be enjoying that thus far right here, right now.
And that 57 of Anthony Lepresto, he's still trying to gain some more momentum here, as there's about a 2 or 3 car length lead between the third.
Down on towards the front straightaway once again for Alex Bergeron. He's completed 3 laps out of this 8-lap heat race, and he's going to be enjoying that gap right here, right now, as Bergeron works down the back straightaway. Trevor Royer currently runs in second with Anthony Lepresto in that 3rd spot, as cars are getting themselves relatively spread out here. 90 looks to the bottom here. First car we've really seen do that after everyone's gotten themselves single file. Don't think he liked it. Immediately back up to the top in 1 and 2 as we're half distance in heat race number 4. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this, especially in the heat race number 5. 19 car of Alex Bergeron going to use his buffer, though, to try the bottom and at least get some experience down there before that trophy dash. And that's one of the things that's interesting here, Davis, is the fact that through the early qualifiers, those who went early sort of had the advantage. But for these guys in the heat races, I think these guys who run later and later will have an advantage because they'll have the experience on a slickened up racetrack once they get to their transfer spots. And transfer races, excuse me.
And you're right. I think so too. As they're going to get that more and more experience and learn which line they can go with and which line might be just a little slower, and just figure out what these cars can do on this slick track, because there's certain moves that you can make when the track is tacky, and there's certain moves that you can't make when it's slick.
1 lap to go in this penultimate heat race here in heat race number 4, and Alex Bergeron, well, he's pretty much dominated this one as he's worked himself down this back straightaway for the 8th and final time. In towards 3 and 4, tries the bottom again, doesn't quite get it right, I don't think. A little bit of a hiccup through the center of the corner, but down on towards the front straightaway. He's going to be a happy camper transferring directly to the trophy dash. Trevor Royer is going to round out that position, the 2nd position, so the final transfer spot into that section of the race. Then Anthony Lepresto, he's going to finish 3rd, the first driver to be on the outside looking in, as we get a little post-race contact. Kyle Gilbert getting a little bit of love from Stephen Hill, but I don't think there was anything intentional there. These guys, let's just say that this heat race was not quite as clean as getting themselves lined up on the back straightaway for the post-race results.
Yeah, nonetheless, though, it was a very good heat race, as we've seen Alex Bergeron take the win there, so he is going to transfer it in the A main with the 90 of Travis Royer. So another driver to watch, though. I think it's going to be that 57 of Anthony Lepresto. Finished 3rd, it's not going to transfer, so he's going to have to get either the B, C, or D main to get in, and I think he's got a lot of speed in that machine, so definitely going to be one to watch here.
So, is chilling, getting themselves the post-race results handed down to the admins, and we'll be bringing you heat race number 5, the 5th and final heat race in this show tonight, and that is going to be a good one for sure, as I just take down some notes for myself. The drivers pull themselves off, and that means, Davis, that we're going to be getting heat 5 here in just a second.
Yep, so we're going to have Simmelman starting in the 1st spot. 2nd is Kersitter. 3rd is Harnick. 4th, Rennert. 5th, DeCinzio. I'm sorry if I mess up your name. I'll get it straightened out before this thing is over with. 6th, Bellum. And 7th is going to be Cooper.
As a man whose name is often the source of many a mistake, it is all right, as we're getting themselves, like you said, everyone getting themselves into the car on pit lane right now, just waiting for stuff coming down the pipe from race control. And then we'll be getting this going green. Is Selman and Kurtsetter. I think those two are going to be the ones to really watch, but Harnick and Rennet still very quick as well, as this is going to be an interesting heat race in this one for sure. Who are you going to jinx in this one? Is it going to be Selman, or is it going to be Kurtsetter?
We're gonna go with Kurtsetter, but who do you think? Who are you gonna pick as your dark horse to win it?
But the dark horse to win it?
To win this heat.
The dark horse to win this heat? I will say Rennert from the 4th spot. I think he'll drive through the field, and I think Austin will log on and start racing and make Dylan's computer crash, and I think that'll definitely give him the window of opportunity to win this race. Is getting everyone else situated out there on the racetrack. Top 2 currently already sorted. 2nd row getting ready to get sorted here as well. And then Deserto and Bellum, I believe they're the 2 cars we see in the background. Indeed it is. We're just waiting on that 7th and final car to take the grid. And we will be off and rolling here in just a moment. So, hope you guys have been enjoying this on RaceSpotTV. Bit of a first time through for us in this championship, as just getting, I don't want to say used to, but getting back into the swing of things for races that were like this. We had a few of them at the top of the year, well, not at the top of the year, but halfway through the year when the dirt content released. But doing these sort of individually done, manually held races that I don't want to say are more true to life, but fill out a little bit more time, are a lot more fun to watch and very exciting to watch. Reminds me of going to Paris for the Real World of Outlaw events.
Oh, this is definitely fun, especially broadcasting this races too. It builds a lot of excitement. It's also a little bit of a challenge, but we've seen a lot of close action racing, and I think I like it.
So rolling on down the back straightaway for these guys, going to be the first time through, as I believe we're getting pictures back from the USA International Speedway and getting a look at heat race number 5, final heat race of the night. No, we got some of you guys that are just tuning in. Here's how this championship works. Drivers come in. You have qualifying groups for this. Some of you guys might be familiar, maybe not all of you, but qualifying groups. Those qualifying groups just pretty much like typical few hot laps to get quick times, get sorted into heat races. Top 2 go to the trophy dash. All those drivers go to the heat main. Trophy dash sorts the starting grid for that feature event, and then everyone will run through in D, C, B mains until we get to that feature race. So it's a full night of racing action, full night of sprint car action here in this one. First 4 heats were absolutely phenomenal. One of them had a handful of cautions, but besides that, the racing has been splendid. The bottom groove has gone away, and what is going to happen here in heat race number 5? Dylan Selman gets the green flag, and we are rolling in heat race number 5 here in this one. Selman jumps immediately to the top side of the racetrack and almost gets it wrong. One car gets it really wrong. That's a 777 Dakota DeCenzo, and he, as I think, has a very broken race car in 1 and 2, but we're staying green. This is a solo car incident, and Selman and Kurtsetter, 27 to 81, they're fighting as they come down to the end of lap number 1.
And as they still come into 1 and 2, they are still battling almost side by side. And the number 81 of Dylan Selman is getting that rear end right next to that wall and on top of that cushion, and he is trying to find every single spot that he can on that track just to gain a little bit of speed as we start to see him gain a little bit of more of a lead. But that 27 of Robert Kurtsetter is going to keep battling back.
And on towards the back straightaway, Kurtsetter is going to be trying to lurk on the back of Dylan Selman, but at the same time, they have a big buffer to 3rd place, the number 115 of Austin Harnick. So I think for that reason, you're going to see these top 2 be relatively patient because no real threat coming from behind. And we come to the end of lap number 2 of 8. And this one, top side of the racetrack, still getting used by pretty much everyone. I don't think I've seen a single car here, Davis, venture to that bottom side of the racetrack, except for Robert, who for some reason seems to like it down there, and I think it might be working. Let's see what the lap time's going to be. He reeled him in through the corner. Did Kurtsetter? What are the lap times going to be, though, as they cycle themselves through? He's actually a little bit quicker, so maybe there's something on that bottom side of the racetrack that's opening up.
There is, I think it is too, as he's getting on that 3 and 4, still going to use that bottom line there. His wheels are right next to that inside wall, with the 81 of Dylan Selman is still utilizing that top side all the way around. Dylan Selman just ran a 19.834. Robert Kurtsetter ran a 19.886. So Dylan was a little bit faster right there, but Gonna see if the 27. Oh, now we see the 81 of Dylan Silliman start to use that bottom line and almost spins it, but he's able to regain control, and he's gonna lose some time there.
Very, very loose race car there for Mr. Selman as they work themselves now off towards down the back straightaway. 3 laps to go in this one, and down once again in towards 3 and 4. Still trying the bottom of that 81 car, and that's pretty interesting to me because I think they're just trying to do a little bit of exploring right now in this race. The fact that they both have such a big buffer, no real point in just putting it to the top side of the racetrack and just dominating this heat race. Get down to the bottom, see what it's like as there's 2 laps to go in the final heat race of the night.
Yeah, just using this as a little R&D session to see what they can do in that A main, and we're still seeing it there as they both decide to use that bottom line in 3 and 4. Going to see where they decide to go in 1 and 2, as now they're using the middle lane of 1 and 2, so they're trying everything and trying to see where they can take these cars.
So heat race number 5 comes to a conclusion as Dylan Selman and Robert Kurtzetter, they will be the drivers who transfer into the next stage and go into the trophy dash. Austin Harnick, Henry Bennett, they're going to be the drivers not quite so lucky, and of course those drivers involve some incidents, not going to be nearly as lucky as well. So that was probably the most strung out of the heat races we got there, Davis, and because of that we got to see some of these guys up front run relatively interesting lines trying to see what they had on the bottom.
We did. We've seen a lot of different strategies in these races.
Oh, just getting the admins lined up here, getting everything I can see here as the memeing in the chat is starting to get a little bit out of control, but oh well, it happens. That's what happens when Howard connects to the chat, so he just loses control. As getting this grid set, and we should be getting your starting grid for your trophy dash here in just a moment. So the drivers, we know they're going to be going into that trophy dash: Batista and Brenner, Hewitt and Nathan Davis, Chad Miller and Tim Smith, Alex Bergeron and Trevor Royer, and then Dylan Silliman and Robert Kurtzetter. But we do not know the order of those drivers just yet because there will be a pill drawn inversion. So right now, you're just hoping that your number gets called and you can come to pole position on this one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. So what are you liking that you've seen so far here tonight?
Been an exciting night of running, I think, for sure. It's been a lot of fun. Very, very unique and very interesting here as we're getting this final... Well, we're getting the trophy dash sorted for you guys in just a moment. Just waiting on this pill draw. And then we will have everything rolling here.
It's definitely been an awesome night of racing. And hey, we're not even halfway done with it here. So we're going to keep seeing a lot of action out here tonight. And these drivers are going to be fighting tooth and nail to try to get into that A main.
Indeed we will, as I'm just communicating a little bit with one of our contacts, just so we can know when we get that information. As we're still just waiting on everyone to come down and actually set this grid here in just a moment. Who's going to be your prediction here for this trophy dash here, Davis? You have Batista and Brenner. They were very quick, but the thing is that the likes of Batista and Brenner, when they ran earlier on, they were on a very, very tracky racetrack here in this one tonight. So because of that, they're going to be, I think, very used to, maybe not quite as used to this slicking off racetrack, especially with that bottom being pretty much KIA from what we saw at the start.
Yes, I think we're going to see a lot of these drivers, especially like Robert Kurtzetter and Chris Brenner. I think we're going to see them really be able to get the most speed out of this track and this dash because they have the most recent experience.
So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Selman and Robert, they're, like you said, they're gonna have the experience on the slickened up racetrack, and you know, same for these guys that came through these slightly later heats. So, just waiting on everyone just waiting to get the official starting grid from Race Control, which now they're getting all the rest of the mains sorted at the moment. As we're just waiting here, Davis, to get everyone out and running.
Yes, we are, as these admins are figuring out who goes where and see what the gridding order is here, as they should be gridding up any second.
Yes, we will. And for those who are unaware, American Dirt Series, we mentioned at the top of the show, but a couple people have joined the stream since then, and it's going to be interesting here, the fact that the American Dirt Series coming up with two different stuff tonight, 2 different nights of racing here on RaceSpotTV. So Mondays, we have these 360 sprint cars. Next week, they'll be rolling at Eldora. That's going to be very exciting. But on Thursday night, coming a little bit later this week, late models are going to be running here from the USA International Speedway. And it's the same format, just enclosed fendered cars. That's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, it definitely will be. So viewers are definitely going to have to tune into that one. So if you've liked what you've seen tonight, then Thursday you're definitely going to like what you see, as those cars are going to be beating and banging and using every piece of that track that they can.
Yes, we will here in this one, as I think we're going to take a short break here on RaceSpot TV, and we'll be back in just a moment here for the American Dirt Series. Don't go away. Welcome back to RaceSpot TV and the American Dirt Series presented by Southern Indiana Lawn Care. So we're having a slight change up of the plans tonight. Only 5 cars, which would have been representing the D main, so they're not even going to run it. They're just putting those cars directly into the C main. And in addition, they want to get the track slickened up a little bit for the fast guys, so they're going to run the C main first here. The way this is going to work, C main going to be 12 laps, 15 cars out here, and the top 8 will go to the B main in this one tonight. They're getting them sorted out there on the racetrack right now. This is going to be, Davis, an exciting one.
Oh, it definitely is. There's going to be some heavy hitters in the C main, so we're going to have to see who's going to transfer and who's going to be left out.
So everyone out there running on the racetrack is, like you said, this is going to be the first time these drivers are really racing for their survival in this one. So let's go down at your starting grid. You're going to have Kyle Beck out there on in front with Derek Fisher in second. You're going to have Stephen Hill and Emil Miller on the second row. Third row is going to be Lindsey Hobbs and Scott Bellum. Row 4 is going to be Ernie Williams and Brock Garris. You're going to have Craig Levan and Dakota DeCenzo just on that next row. Todd LeBoub and Doug Wyatt, and then followed by David Jones and John Fowler. So a lot of cars mostly seen on this racetrack, and this this C main is going to be exciting with the fact that this bottom groove has gone away, and the fact that some of these drivers, I don't want to say they're slow, but they're not going to be quite as efficient as a lot of the big names like the Bergerons and the Semmelmans and the like in the world, John Batista and Nathan Davis. So because of that, cars are not going to be nearly as stuck to the racetrack. Look for exciting racing in this one as they head themselves off of corners number 3 and 4. And Derek Fisher, is going to be bringing us to green. That 47 up top, leaving a lot of dead room. That's going to cost him a number of positions. As the C-Main is now green here, Derek Fisher has a big opening, and he's got one car around on the front straightaway. That's the 88 of Johnny Smith. There's the 22s around in 1 and 2 as well, and we're going to be getting these cars immediately woed up here for a caution on the opening lap.
So we've seen a big cluster up there going into 1 and 2. A few cars got damaged, a few cars went end over end, I saw on that high side. So they're going to get them gridded back up here and get ready to do this thing again.
So still having everyone getting themselves resorted here out there on the racetrack and getting themselves back up 2 by 2 here in just a moment. Again, 12 laps, top 8 transfers. So that's going to be one of the big things we really need to watch here is that you have right now it's Emil Miller and Derek Fisher top 2. Really no one really changed spots here in this one. So it's going to be Garris who currently holds that transfer position pretty much where he started. He didn't really have enough time to lose many spots in this one here tonight, as we're getting this field still rolling the way through. So that should be 1 lap down there. Davis should be having 11 to go, and hopefully we get a much better start, because that 47 car of Kyle Beck, who started on that second row, no other way to say, he pretty much flopped that start and completely gave up his position on the outside of that front row. He immediately lost 1 spot there.
Yeah, he did. He definitely kind of caused the field to back up there right now as they're side by side, and I think they should be taking the green this next time by. But yeah, we've seen the 39 of Derek Fisher as well, as he was able to not get quite the start he wanted to. So he's going to look to get a little redemption, see if he can battle for that lead.
So off towards 3 and 4 goes the field, and Derek Fisher is going to be looking to get a nice big jump here once again. Through 3 and 4 they're going to come, and the green flag is going to fly once again here, coming to the second lap of this C main. Off towards the front straight, they're going to come. Couple big moves getting thrown down the inside by a couple cars. 127 through one, as well as the 610 of Craig Levan, as the field is all through down the back straightaway once again in towards 3 and 4. See most people opting for the top side of the racetrack. Couple issues might be happening in the background. Bit of a sack up 3 wide as well towards the tail end of your field. One car's around 33 of Doug Wyatt. He's somewhat in the fence. 22 of John Fowler as well, as I think we're going to be getting another caution in this one and getting everything backwood up here. So pretty quick turnaround from green to yellow here thus far in the C main here, Davis, as Kyle Beck did a good job to pick up a spot, but Fisher still holds that race lead.
He does. Yeah, they was seen one car get on that bottom, just hit the wall, and as a result, he got into the field and sent a couple drivers around.
So that should be the end of it for a couple drivers. As always, no resets allowed in these races, so even if you get damage, you can't just come down on pit road and take any of those repairs here in this one. A couple cars are going to come down on towards pit lane. I don't know if they feel like their nights are done or what the situation is, but they're going to be rolling their way out there onto the racetrack. As Derek Fisher, he's going to be looking keen to just keep doing what he's been doing. And now I think what they're doing here, Davis, everyone's lining up single file this time. That is a rule they have in this championship. If we go to a couple quick cautions, they will go back to single restarts here in just a moment. We got a replay of an incident a little bit earlier on, but so yes.
Yeah, we did.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we did. And that 47 of Kyle Beck, he's sitting in second place. He's got the 26 of Emil Miller right behind him. So 2 drivers right here. Seen a little bit of speed at him so far, but we haven't seen some consecutive green flag laps to see really what they have and what they can showcase here.
So everyone's still out there and rolling. Not sure if we'll be going back to green here this time by or the next. But Derek Fisher continues to lead. John Fowler, Doug Wyatt back out there on the racetrack, trying to catch the back of the field. Johnny Smith just came down pit road as well. So let's see, are we going to go green this time or the next? As they roll through 3 and 4, just have to keep an eye on that 39 car and see whether or not the show is going to be back on here, if we're going to do another couple laps. And we're going back to green flag racing. Derek Fisher, very keen, gets on that go pedal. We've got one car down in the grass already. Not sure who that is, but they did not get the restart they would have wanted. That is the 610 of Craig Levan, and he has lost a lot of spots as Fisher leads with a big gap down this back straightaway.
And you're right, as Fisher still's got that giant lead on the 47 of Kyle Beck, but we see the 26 just right behind him. He gets a little loose coming out of 3 and 4, but he's able to regain control as they're in 1 and 2. But we've got a few battles in the back of the lead going into 1 and 2. It's about almost 3 wide there.
Down in towards 3 and 4, they're going to come for Derek Fisher. Again, top 8 transfer. As they run, you have Fisher, Beck, Miller 3rd, top 3, LeBoub 4th, Hill 5th, Williams 6th, Garris 7th, and David Jones rounding out the 8th spot. And that is a tight fight in that 8th and final transfer spot. 12 machine of Lindsey Hobbs looking down low on the 00 and slides up the racetrack, almost sideswipes him. And that's going to give David a nice little cushion, and he's going to say thank you very much as Lindsey goes right back to fighting down there on the bottom line.
She almost loses it out in 3 and 4, but still able to regain control. The 777 is going to come right on her outside right there.
So 777 working the top. That's Dakota DeCenzo here, and he's going to get a big run on David Jones. He might have an opportunity to fight for this final transfer spot, wheel to wheel with Mr. 00. David Jones slides just in front, chops the nose, does a good job. I think he's going to hold on to that spot. Is going to be DeCenzo, and he's going to take that transfer position. Well executed by him to slot up in front of the 00 like that.
It was very well executed indeed. Now he's going to stretch that position out by 2 or 3 cars. He's got a slow car at the bottom, but he's going to get out of the way, and it's not going to bring out a caution. But he's still got a few battles up in 1 and 2 right now.
So working themselves once again through these couple corners. Race leaders still with a nice little gap. And they're going to be nice and cool here as Derek Fisher still leads this C main off towards 3 and 4, or into 1 and 2. The 39 car not trying that bottom of the racetrack with the big gap he has, and I think we're seeing some cars, Davis, look to that bottom groove. That top side is starting to wear away just a little bit.
It is, and as I'm watching these drivers, I'm seeing them get really loose coming out of the exits of the corner, and they're having to chase it down the straightaways just to regain control, and they're losing a lot of momentum. As right there you see the 12 car Lindsey Hobbs do that same exact thing.
So Lindsey Hobbs still working it, trying to work that car as best as they can, and everyone trying to work it as best as they can. And this one, as Derek Fisher continues to just dominate this C main. He's out to a big gap over Kyle Beck, because we got a big pileup, I think, coming off of quarter number 4. Who is that in the inside wall? 22's down there. You also have the 91 of Ernie Williams. He's slow down there, and that's not going to be what they would have wanted here. Let's see what happens, what race control is going to do as John Fowler is trying to get that car back underneath them.
Yes, I think we're going to stay green here.
They are indeed going to stay green in this one, and everyone's still out there and running nice clean laps out there on the racetrack. Fisher continues to lead from Kyle Beck. Emil Miller has the 3rd spot, and Stephen Hill's running in 4th in this one. Is down on the bottom of the racetrack. They're going to go once again. Well, top of the racetrack, I should say. No one's really working that bottom anymore. A couple people tried it for a short time and ended up not liking it here. As here in the throttle control as people work the bottom, and that's going to be the end of our C main. And Derek Fisher is going to run. Unless Derek ran out of fuel, everyone else is still running. But race leader going in towards 1 and 2. He brought it to a halt on the back straightaway. I think Derek ran his car out of gas.
I did, and that's just a heartbreaker right there, as he is going to run out of gas, and that is just a heartbreaker.
Not something you ever want to see happen in this one. Of the 47 of Kyle Beck will inherit the race lead because of that. That's one of the risks you have in this one. A lot of people are used to the official racing and the yellow laps counting. You do not get that in this series. So because of that, you need to have some surplus fuel on board, just like you would in real life. So because of that, Kyle Beck will inherit that race lead, and hear him working that bottom side of the racetrack is that 47 car, and he's going to happy inherit that C main victory right there at the end. And what a way to get get it. Just a couple laps from the finish there, Davis, and he's going to bring that one home.
And unfortunately, correct me if I'm wrong, that's going to end Derek Fisher's night.
That is indeed. Only the top 8 will transfer out of the C main, and the cars I see as they're lining up, Kyle Beck will win, Hill will be second, Miller third, Brock Garris fourth, fifth was Todd LeBlue, sixth was Derek DeCenzo, seventh was Lindsey Hobbs, and then David Jones. Those are the 8 cars who will be transferring into the B main. But before we get that B main, of course, we'll be getting the rosters, well, the finishing order lined up with race control, and then we'll be moving on to the trophy dash. Before that, admins wanted to get this track a little bit slickened up, and we had some cars moving down to the bottom at times, Davis. I think that top side has gone away a bit.
Yeah, it is, and we I noted that during Heat C that these cars on exit, they were getting really loose. So we started to see them go down low. Then they were getting loose in the middle of the corner. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these drivers and what line they choose to use.
So just getting the rest of these results out here in this one, and we will be going back to racing for that trophy dash. And that's going to be an exciting one. We have the names: Tim Smith, Nathan Davis, Chris Brenner, Dylan Silliman, Alex Bergeron, Miller, Lewis Hewitt, John Batista, Trevor Royer, and Robert Kurtsetter. Those are the drivers that will be rolling off. And that is going to be the order they're rolling off. So that did get inverted, by the way, because the initial ordering was Batista, Hewitt, Miller, Bergeron, Silliman, Brenner, Davis, Smith, Royer, Kurtsetter. Tim Smith, he goes from third to last position. Pildraw goes his way. He's going to be leading him to pole. That's a fantastic opportunity to roll off this feature event tonight from the front row.
It is, and this is going to be some of the fastest drivers here. They got every single driver that's running this dash got top 2 in their heat. So we're going to see a lot of fast drivers out there, and definitely going to have to see what line they choose to use, because the track is getting very slick.
So just getting field, like we said, finished up. Drivers now getting themselves off, and we should be seeing this trophy dash going out there and rolling here in just a second. Like we said, it's going to be a pretty stark contrast, isn't it, Davis? Because we just had a bunch of people who've been struggling tonight. The cars haven't been working very well. They've been, setups maybe not right. Those guys racing for survival. The guys we're about to see out there are pretty much the best of the evening, fastest through qualifying, fastest in the heats, and they're going to be fighting for starting spots in the A main. And this is one of those ones where I think if you start up near the front, you just need to be fully focused on getting a nice, good, clean finish in this one. You don't want to end up having to run your way through and get too aggressive, make a mistake, and go from fighting to start third in the main to suddenly you're starting like 12th.
And you're exactly right. And that while we have seen some drivers be able to come from the back to the front, but for the most part, you want to start as high as possible, because these cars too, especially on restarts, they can jolt up from under you like that, and you can be involved in an incident. And we've seen a lot of the winners come out of the first 2 or 3 spots.
So, Trophy Dash drivers getting themselves sorted out there on the racetrack right now, getting into their cars, and we should be seeing that race get gridded up here in just a second. And this one, I think, is going to put on one heck of a show and be a lot of fun to watch. So, for this Trophy Dash, who do you think we're going to see take this one away, Davis? Because it is one heck of a roster of names, pretty much all the quickest names in qualifying and racing tonight coming at you in this one.
You know what? I'm really liking that 666 of Lewis Hewitt again. What about you?
Well, has a decent opportunity. Let's see if he'll be able to do it. He's going to be starting from not the greatest position, a little bit deep in that. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7th, I believe, is Lewis going to be rolling off. So he'll have to pass a lot of cars. So I don't know. That's a lot of cars to pass in 10 laps for a trophy dash.
Hey, we'll see what happens here, and we know he's got a fast sprint car up under him, so we'll definitely have to see what happens. But another big name to watch is going to be that 19 of Alex Bergeron.
Bergeron, like I said, anyone in this trophy dash has a chance to win it and get themselves starting on pole, as the drivers now rolling down pit road and getting themselves sorted for this trophy dash in this one. As we'll be getting that field set here, and then back to green flag racing is Tim Smith going to be the happy camper to be bringing them to the green flag in this one, hoping to just finish in those top couple spots and come home with a fantastic run and set himself up for a great 35 laps of running in this feature event.
He definitely is.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Well, he's definitely has one of the most recent experiences on this slick track. So some of these drivers, like the 666, Lewis Hewitt, and a few other drivers, they haven't ran on this track. Well, I mean, it's been what, about 45 minutes, 50 minutes ago?
Yeah, a lot of these guys, they have not been on this track for a while. So for them, this place is going to be really, really, really slickened up for all of these drivers. As I think everyone is now in their spots. I think we're just waiting on getting people out there and rolling on the actual racetrack, and indeed they go. So your trophy dash, quick drivers and probably the favorites to potentially win the feature tonight, hitting the racetrack here. The first time we're going to see these drivers run against each other pretty much. They would have had one of their competitors in their respective heat races, but besides that, this is going to be the first time a lot of them have seen each other on the track. Tim Smith, like we said, coming with the pole, and Nathan Davis second in the field tonight. And he was second in qualifying this evening. Quickest in qualifying, though, John Batista. He's going to be starting on the second to last row. I think that 15 is not going to be too excited about that.
Oh, he's definitely not. But, hey, he can still come up through there and show these drivers what he's made of tonight, because he's definitely still got a very, very fast sprint car.
So field rolls through 1 and 2. We're going to be getting ready and getting set here for this one tonight. As Tim Smith is going to be leading him to green once again. Who's it going to be in the trophy dash? Will Tim be able to hold on to it? Will Semmelman come from that second row? What about Brenner? What about Batista? What about Davis? What about everyone in this field? What sort of opportunity do they have as they roll through turns number 3 and 4? 10 laps, and this will set the first handful of rows for your feature event. Green flag waves, and Tim Smith gets out to an early jump. Whole shot for him as they roll through 1 and 2. Nathan Davis looks to work the bottom. The 84 looks to work the bottom as well. That's Chris Brenner, 3 wide for the second spot already. These guys are getting aggressive. They're 3 wide in the background as well.
And as we see Brenner, he grabs into the wall right there on that high side, but he's still able to get that thing under control. The 666 of Lewis Hewitt is 3 wide going into 1 and 2. He's stuck in the middle line right there as we've got about a 4-way battle in the back of the pack, but things are definitely heating up front as there's a battle for the lead, and there's still 3 wide.
You got 10 cars on this racetrack, and 6 of them were just involved with 3 wide scenarios simultaneously, but the fight's on for the race lead between the 38 and the 84. They're rolling off into 1 and 2. The 84 was trying to get that race lead, but wasn't quite able to do it. 3 wide in your mid-pack once again between Semmelman and Davis as they run off towards this back straightaway. Not quite able to hold the 3 wide for very long, but Tim Smith, he's just trying to hold on to that race lead and that pole position as we're coming to the end of lap number 3 of 10.
And he's got a very fast number 84 right behind him as he's going to choose that low side. He's going to lose a little bit of the momentum down the back stretch as you see the 38 of Tim Smith still using that high side, getting every single thing he can out of that car, and they're still side by side as these drivers are not giving an inch to each other.
Chris Brenner leads across the time beam and into 1 and 2 this time. If he can hold it on the bottom and get clear, he'll have it. We got 1 car up in the fence through 1 and 2. Not sure who that is. That is Lewis Hewitt. So he's going to be starting deep in this heat race tonight. Davis gave him the commentator's curse, but Brenner, he's going to hold on to the race lead. Tim Smith is trying to fight back, though, as they run down in towards 1 and 2, still working the top side of the racetrack. It's now 4 cars as Semmelman and Bergeron has joined the fray in the fight for this race lead here as we're over half distance, just a few laps left to go.
And that 19 of Alex Bergeron, he's just sitting back and licking his chops right now as he's watching these guys and seeing what line they're running. He's waiting to make his move as they go down into 1 and 2 right now, as there's all 3 drivers are using that high side except for that lone 1 car in the 4th position.
To be 3 laps to go at the stripe in this one. Brenner continues to lead the way from Tim Smith up top. Bergeron, I think, is quicker than the 2 drivers in front of him, but he can't quite get himself there and get himself any good dirt. He can't work the middle. It's too slick, and there's a driver on the bottom and a driver on the top in front of him, and I don't think either of them are going to open up an opportunity. They're 3 wide deep in the field once again as Brenner continues to work that low side of the racetrack as they come off of corner number 4 once again and coming across the timing beam.
These drivers want to be very careful. They've got good starting positions right now. They don't want to push the issue, end up wrecking themselves or another competitor and having to start deep in the field like we see in the 666 of Lewis Hewitt is going to have to do.
Coming now off of corner number 4. Bergeron looks to the bottom. They gave him some opportunity here with Brenner working the top, and Tim Smith, he's going to have to fight for that position here as they work through 1 and 2 once again. I believe this should be the white flag lap as Bergeron is trying his hardest to slide up in front of Tim Smith, not able to do so. Will Dylan Selman be able to make a move and take that 3rd spot away from Bergeron? Again, Alex looks to the bottom on Tim Smith. Can he hold on to it? No, he cannot. And Chris Brenner is going to come now in towards 1 and 2, leading the way. And that is going to be the end of the trophy dash. And Chris Brenner did a fantastic job to get himself the race lead early, and he comes away with it from pretty far down the order in this heat race here, Davis.
Wow, what an awesome dash right there, and that's going to set up our starting grid for the A main. So, hey, that was just a dash. Wait till we get into the A main here tonight. It is going to be a thriller from green to checkered.
From 3rd in the field of that heat race, of that trophy dash is where Brenner ended up coming from to win that. Tim Smith, of course, started on pole. He held on to 2nd. Bergeron, he moved up a couple spots from 5th to get himself up to 3rd. Selman went +1. Let's see, do we have anyone who picked up a lot of spots? Look at Robert Kurtzetter. From where he ended up finishing, he got himself a top 5 after being the last starter on this one. Great run there from the 27.
So that proves that you can come back from the back of the field and make your way up to the front. That was just 10 laps. Think what these drivers are going to be able to do with 35.
So they get themselves sorted, and this is important. They got to get all the drivers and their finishing order in order to carry them over for the starting position for the feature. All these drivers go into the feature as Brenner's having a little bit of fun celebrating the fact that he just won that heat. And now getting themselves, that trophy dash. I keep saying the wrong words because I'm not smart. But everyone coming off, and now we should be getting that B main coming at us here in just a moment, and that's going to be an intense one as well, Davis.
It really is, and I'm not sure what line these drivers are going to use. We've talked about it all night, and this track is very, very, very slick. So we've seen some use the top, seen some use the middle, seen some use the bottom. So I think it's going to be whatever driver is able to adapt their car to the situations on track is going to be able to come out here and win this B main.
So just getting everything sorted here in this one. Just trying to get your starting grid here for the B main, and we now do indeed have it. It's going to be Walker and Heilemann who are going to be leading him to green from the front row. Then you have Speidel and Lopresto in the 2nd row. Harnick and Sheridan row 3. Smith and Steele row 4. Gilbert and Renner, they're going to round out your top 10 on row number 5. Beck and Hill row 6. Miller and Garris row 7. Labube and DeCenzo row 8. With Hobbs and Jones rounding out the 18-car field in this one. So this is going to be an exciting night. Let's just say an exciting preview to that feature event.
And before you ask me, I'm going to go ahead and throw the curveball. Who do you think is going to finish in that 8th and final transfer spot?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's so many names that it'd be easier to pick a winner than it would be to pick someone who's going to be that bubble boy and just eke out that last transfer spot. I mean, right now it's going to be Brandon Steele, who holds it as the start of this race. But, you know, from that's not to say that he's necessarily going to hold on to it, or even that he might not pick up spots and not have to be that bubble boy.
Yeah, you're definitely right. So definitely going to be, I guess we're going to see the most action is around that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th position, because those drivers that are further up in the field, you know, they don't want to do anything that's going to end up sending them in the wall or sending them into another car. So they want to be able to hold what they got so they can stay in that A main.
So just getting some confirmation here in this one, as it's going to be, I think, a little bit more populated transferring into that feature event in this one. I think it's going to be the top 14 transfer in this one, so it's going to be Garris. So there's only going to be a few drivers here from this one that actually end up going from the outside looking in, considering it's only 18 cars. So only 4 drivers will drop out, and that's going to be, right now, starting this race, Labube, DeCenzo, Hobbs, and Jones. Those are the 4 drivers that need to pass a couple cars to get themselves up and in this one.
And you're right. So, it's definitely still going to be a tough battle to get that final transfer spot, but like you said, there will only be 4 that won't make it. So we're going to have to see how it plays out, how these drivers will overcome these slick track conditions, and see what happens as We go further into the night here in our B main.
So, going to be an exciting one indeed. Still, our first season opener for the American Dirt Series, so just working things out, getting everyone sorted. I see a bunch of cars now joining pit lane here, so that's going to be, I think, the signal that this racetrack and these cars are getting them set to go racing here. In this one, going to be 15 laps, like we just said, 14 transfer, and we just saw an entertaining trophy dash that was double-digit in the lap count, and that was a good show.
It was a very good show, and honestly, hats off to these drivers because they have all put on a very, very great show tonight. As they have driven, given everything they've had on this track and in this event tonight. And you know, we've still got a full B main ahead of us and the A main, so it's definitely, the intensity is going to be picking up, and it's definitely going to be one to watch.
Yes, indeed, as the grid is getting set, all the cars now rolling, I believe, down pit lane. I see a bunch of sprint cars down there doing a count. That should be about the number we need out there, getting themselves formed up before we get rolling and going here in this C main tonight. And David Heileman, he's going to look to me, David's the one that from the heat races here, Davis, that was really, you know, one of the guys that is going to be unfortunate, because David would have been in the right company being in that trophy dash. I think he's one that needs to just get himself a clean run and get clean into that A main. And same with Derek Walker. He needs to have a nice clean night here in this B main as well, because I think both of those drivers, if they can transfer, they're potentially competitive enough to win here tonight from USA.
You know, you're right. As we've seen David Hellerman and I'm sorry, Derek Walker finished third in their respective heats, so they definitely got a lot of speed. And I think you're right. If they are able to transfer into the A main, they could be battling up there and competing for a win once everything's over with.
Cars cycling themselves out onto the racetrack, and this B main is going to be an exciting one. All these guys want to get themselves into that feature event, and most of them will get an opportunity, but you don't want to be one of those four guys on the outside looking in as they roll themselves off corner number 4 into the first pace lap. So we won't be going just yet, but let's see, Davis, let's go the opposite of the commentator's curse. Name the drivers you do not think we will see transfer.
That's a tough one, and probably gonna have some drivers hating me after this race if I pick their name. But you know, that's really too tough to call, because all these drivers, they've shown a lot of speed, and I think any one of them can get in. So we're just gonna have to wait and find out. How about that?
So down this back straightaway, Davis doesn't want to make any enemies the first time in the RaceSpotTV broadcast booth, but that might change over time. Hopefully, as he does more and more of these shows. So Derek Walker will be leading us to the green here in just a moment as they roll off corners number 3 and 4 and down onto the front straightaway. Green flag flies, lap number 1 and 15, and we're going to get the starting grid sorted for that feature event. Walker takes that race lead as he rolls aggressively through the bottom, but gets into the wall immediately. He's going to drop a bunch of spots. There's another pile up a little bit behind. No one's around, though. Just a lot of contact shuffling back and forth as Lindsey Hobbs is going to end up on their lid, as well as Emil Miller in the 26th. I think we might see this field go to yellow, but if they get themselves sorted quickly enough, no, we are going to go to yellow. So a big incident there to start out this B main.
A very big incident right there, and it's all started with the 20th Derek Walker. He got out of the racing groove right there and then went high into the corner, hit the wall, kind of checked up the field a little bit. So we're going to have to see how much damage he has and if it's going to affect him, to see if he can hold on to his transfer position.
So field is still set as we're getting a replay of that incident. David Heileman is going to be a very happy camper after that one, that he inherited the race lead. Lap did not count, Davis, so we're going to be getting a full restart here from that race. So we're going back to lap number 1 of 15, essentially wipe the fact that first lap happened.
Awesome. So Derek Walker will get his position back, am I correct?
That is correct indeed. So I believe that's correct. That I actually do not know. Let's see, as I don't think so. That's not how it works in real racing for most of the tracks I've been to, and I'm going to assume that's not how it works here. And I don't even see him out there on the racetrack. Well, actually, no, he is. He's rolling in that 3rd spot. So, no, I do not think he's going to get that. Otherwise, I think race control would have sorted it. I think they might be slowing him down a little bit. They might be stopping him on the back straightaway here because they're rolling really slow right now, getting themselves sorted. And I think there's just some confused first-timers in this championship right now.
Definitely have to keep an eye on it and watch out and see how they grid things up here before they go green. I think the admins are still trying to sort things out, and before we get the green flag here to start this, or I should say restart this B main.
So lap number 1, of course, did not count. So still do have 15 laps here coming at you as grid is getting itself reset, and it looks like they are indeed giving spots back to people. So is going to be a full restart in this one. Walker is giving the race lead back. Heilemann not going to be quite so happy. Brad Speidel as well is going to be in that 3rd spot. So hopefully everyone can keep it clean here as we get all the cars back out there and running as they roll themselves down this back straightaway and in towards 3 and 4. Let's see, are we going green this time? I think we have the entire field set here. Let's see if this is going to be the signal to go green. It doesn't look too nice at the back of the field, so I'd be surprised if they go green off this, and they're not going to. So getting the start waved off for the moment. It's actually, we have one car that needs to get themselves, I think, tagged onto the lead lap. That's Kyle Gilbert. He stopped on pit road. I'm not sure if he's going to be joining the racetrack or not, but he's sitting out there just to cause some confusion.
Hey, there we go in that 20th. Derek Walker, he's going to get his second shot at redemption here. Going to see how the things play out. You know, he got very lucky that he was able to get his spot back, and that caution came out on that first lap. So maybe he's learned from his mistakes here as they're about to get that green flag as they're heading into 3 and 4 right now.
So down the back straightaway, Derek Walker, you messed it up the first time, bud. Don't do it 2 times in a row as they roll through 3 and 4 and come off toward the front straightaway. Green flag flies. Full restart here as they come back to lap number 1 of 15, and Derek's going to lead once again. Looks low, and he made this mistake on the opening of this race. And up on the top side of the racetrack, David Heilemann is trying to work the momentum, not quite able to do so. And Derek Walker, he's going to be happy that he got the reset of the field. He holds on to it through 3 and 4 this time. Off of corner number 4, and he's going to lead lap number 1, or is he? It's Heilemann has a big run. Yes, he will lead it, but will he lead lap number 2? We got cars in the grass coming across the front straightaway. And we got 2, 3, 4 cars around coming in towards corner number 1. 127's around.
And I think that all started with the 47 of Kyle Beck as they were 3 wide coming out of 3 and 4, and it was definitely caused some drivers to check up as they went flying into each other and were under caution.
So we are indeed under caution in this one right here, right now. Everyone's just being patient, getting themselves back here, as I do not think we're going to be getting another reset of the field. So for these people, if you got into some big trouble, it should be the end of your night. I think at this point, a couple cars do have some pretty significant damage as they roll out there on the racetrack. David Heilemann, that number 83 machine looks pretty hooked up here, Davis, because he was awfully quick once they got that top side hooked up, and he made short work of Derek Walker when the opportunity arose.
He did, as I was watching him, he was able to utilize that cushion on that high side, and he came flying around this USA International Speedway, as he's got that thing definitely tuned in and ready to go.
Everyone's going to be rolling here. It'll be interesting to see if we go to single file restarts. We saw that earlier tonight. A couple quick yellows in these cars, and they will force the drivers to do single file restarts, but not sure if we've gotten that signal just yet. Again, we've only run a couple laps of running in this one, so for all these drivers, lap count should be still about 15, 16. I think we only actually got 1 hot lap sorted, so we should have 14 to go still.
Yes, we should, and I just can't say enough. I'm really liking how that number 83 of David Heilemann is able to get that thing hooked up, and I think he's going to be one to watch too, especially if he's able to transfer here. These guys in the A main better be taking notes and better be scared.
So they have a single file groove and then a big gaggle of cars. I think they're trying to get cars sorted in order here, right now. Is a little bit of a mock start there, I think, from David Heilemann. Not quite sure what happened there. A little bit confusing, but I think they're now getting everyone caught up here. I think they're just still trying to get people in the correct order before we go back to green flag racing, and everyone looks to me like we're going to be getting a single file restart here. Davis, seems to be the situation.
Yeah, I think you're right too, and that'll cut back on some of the contact that we've seen early on these restarts.
And that's going to be the big situation that we want to see, because there is a bit of a talent differential in this heat race, in this B main compared to what we saw earlier on tonight in some of the racing. Some fast guys and some people who the cars aren't quite as nice, aren't working as well as they'd like. But green flag is going to come back out for David Heilemann as he works himself down this front straightaway and in towards 1 and 2, almost doing a wheel stand in that sprint car. And he's the sole driver I see really go down to the bottom amongst your top few. There's a couple in the background that do as well, though.
He said that number 20 of Derek Walker was able to utilize that high side, but still was able to lost a little bit of momentum. As you see that 555 of Brad Sproul, going to try to get right below him, but now he loses momentum against that 20, and we've got them all battled back here in the back going into 1 and 2.
Off and down towards the back straightaway for David Heilemann. He's got a nice little cushion here over Derek Walker, but we're going back to yellow here in this one. Not sure what happened. I don't know if they just didn't like the restart or what the deal was. Did you see anyone go around, Davis, that I may have missed?
I believe it was the 94.
94 car ended around. That would have been Todd LeBoob.
Oh, I'm sorry, 115 of Austin Harnick.
15. As Hugo was spamming it in our chat the whole time, so unfortunate there for Austin to be the car, and I no longer see him on the racetrack, so that's going to be the end of his night, I do believe. And yeah, that was big contact. Started with the 47 machine, actually. Kyle Beck got into him and turned him down to the inside wall, and both him and that the 115 and the 47, both heavy contact, and that's going to be the end of their night. So not exactly the sort of situation you'd like to have there.
We're going back green here, Randy.
We are going back in green, so a quick turnaround for what I was expecting is the 83 of David Heilemann. Works himself through 1 and 2 and off down this back straightaway once again for this race here, as David Heilemann currently leads the way over Derek Walker and Brad Speidel.
And you see that 555 is still trying to battle for that second spot, but now he's got a few battles back in the pack as they're all double wide coming into 1 and 2.
Double wide, just like your grandma's trailer, as they roll themselves through the bottom of 1 and 2. That race leader, 83 of David Heilemann, has been struggling there on the bottom, getting a lot of wheel hop from that front side of that race car. So not looking quite as hooked up, I think, is David Heilemann. They work themselves across start finish with 10 laps to go right now.
And we were just 4 wide there. That was sort of with the Kyle Vincent Gilbert in the 227, but as they get that straightened out, we've still got battles all over this track as these drivers are fighting for every tooth and nail they can get as they want a shot at this A-main and a shot to win this race later tonight.
9 to go. They come across the stripe, and David Heilemann has Derek Walker for company. That 20 seems to have the top side of the racetrack worked out as he's still the 83 machine, and David working the bottom, gets a good run off of it thus far, and that number 20 machine of Derek Walker still trying to work the top side. 83 still working the bottom, slides up through the slick a little bit. This might give Derek an opportunity. They come onto the front straightaway, drag race to the line, and I think Derek beat him to start finish this time through the middle for the 20. A little bit through the slick stuff. He's going to try to get that power down, but the 83 down low, still able to make it work.
David Heilemann is showing what he's made up with the 20 of Derek Walker. Said, hey, I'm not giving up tonight. I've got a fast car and I've got one to beat us. He's using everything on that high side, and he's able to beat him in going into 1 and 2. They make a tiny bit of contact right there as they're on the exit of 1 and 2. The 83 of David Heilemann's going to think to slide up, but he's not going to. The 20 of David Walker is still fighting.
Derek Walker still trying to work that top side as David Heilemann is doing his best as well, but Derek Walker is going to take that race lead, and as we're approaching the 5 lap to go mark here, this is the exact time you want to have that race lead, Davis, because you have a nice little margin and not a lot of laps left, and that bottom side, I think, for David is still not quite working out the way he'd like, but he's still trying to make it work.
These drivers do got to be careful because we ran a lot of caution lights. They didn't count, so they got to be mindful of their fuel. And if they see that their fuel's going to run low, they're going to try to start saving that, because I'd rather finish 6th or 7th with enough fuel than run out and not make the A-main.
That's really the big talking point, isn't it? You need to get that thing done and set here. As David Heilemann still working the bottom over at Derek Walker and on towards this front straightaway. Brad Speidel, Michael Sheridan still out there fighting on the racetrack, as well, of course, as Travis Smith, as they all roll themselves through 1 and 2 still, as people are really starting to struggle with the slick conditions.
As they are, as we see the number 83 of David Heilemann, he's starting to gain just a tiny bit back. He lost a lot
but I gotta think he might be saving fuel out there.
Might be the situation, but because we've had a lot of cautions, so if there's a slight underfill, that might be the situation. We are on 4 laps to go. Through 3 and 4 they come, and off toward the front straightaway for race leader Derek Walker. Going to be 3 laps to go is the count here as they come across the stripe as David Hellerman gets into the wall, trying to get into 1 and 2 as that entry has really slickened up on that run in. You still have Brad Speidel and Michael Sheridan. They're fighting door to door. This is going to be popsicle sticks this next time through.
And you can really watch that 83 of David Halleman as he gets into 1 and 2. You can see his car just bounce up and down. That's what we were talking about, the very slick track conditions. What were sort of kind of like potholes is you cannot get a grip and are not able to get as much minimum grip as you can.
2 laps to go. They come through corners number 3 and 4. White flag is out right here, right now for Derek Walker. David Heileman's been able to hook that car up just a little bit as they work themselves through 1 and 2. The 20 slides through the middle of the racetrack, trying to work the slick, and apparently I got bad info as that's going to be the end of the race for Mr. Derek Walker, and that's going to be a big, big win for him as he's going to transfer his way through. Now, who was our bubble boy? I sort of lost track of that, as it's going to be, let's see, it was 15 cars transfer. So
I think there was 4 cars that were on pit road. So I think it might be the, if it's reading right, the 26 is going to be our bubble boy.
I think you're right. Still trying to just get 14 cars transfer, not 50. So let me just do a recount. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure. I think we had a couple. I don't think we had 14 cars actually finish that race. So I think all the cars on track who finished actually are going to be transferring there from that one. But there might be a car who was down on pit road that might technically transfer into the feature as well. So bit of an exciting finish to that one. And Derek Walker and David Heileman, but very, very quick throughout that B main.
Yeah, very, very quick as they were able to battle that entire race side by side, and luckily they had enough fuel to make it to the end. So definitely had a lot of drama in this B main after they got it all sorted out and got straightened out. Instead, a lot of close action racing. And hey, you viewers better be ready for that A main because these drivers are on edge tonight.
You ready for that? Track's gotten bumpy, track has gotten slick. Well, the admins get everything sorted, and we get that A main lined up for you in just a moment. We are going to step away here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live, take a quick break, and be bringing you the end of round number 1 for the 360 sprints in the American Dirt Series presented by Southern Indiana Lawn Care. Don't go away.
A movie, just like a storybook. We are the future, we're the ones they won't overlook. It's time to be the hero. Rising, like you've never seen, like you've never seen. Looking for a hero, shining. Just like in a dream, just like in a dream.
Introducing a whole new form of racing to the best online racing simulation in the world. This is Dirt Racing on iRacing.com. Race online at some of America's most legendary dirt tracks, including Eldora and Williams Grove. iRacing is the premier online racing game featuring NASCAR, IndyCar, sports cars, and now World of Outlaws, the leading sanctioning body for dirt racing. iRacing is easy to use and features a centralized ranking system to make sure you have the best experience at any skill level. With a massive inventory of high-precision laser scan tracks and cars with an unmatched dedication to quality and detail, iRacing gives you the most authentic online racing experience available. Thanks to iRacing's dynamic track system, developed specifically for dirt racing, tracks change over the course of a race, just like your favorite dirt track on a Friday or Saturday night. From a slick racing groove all the way up to the cushion, iRacing's dirt tracks deliver non-stop racing action. Partnered with the World of Outlaws, iRacing is your source for the most authentic dirt racing experience available, featuring 4 brand new tracks and 11 new cars, including street stocks, Legends cars, late models, NASCAR trucks, winged and non-winged sprint cars, with much more on the way. Join the Dirt Revolution on iRacing.com and start slinging mud today.
Get ready, going green. Green, green, green.
Welcome back to RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live as the feature event for the American Dirt Series presented by Southern Indiana Lawn Care is getting ready to come at you tonight in Davis. It has been an entertaining night of racing thus far. A lot of action, seen some thrills, seen some spills, and we're going to have 35 laps in order to sort out who's going to be bringing it home tonight.
We have, and as that track is really slicking off tonight, they've got bumps going into 1 and 2, bumps going into 3 and 4. There is not a tacky spot on this track, and these drivers are going to be fighting tooth and nail to try to come out of here as the winner.
So with that, we will go down your A main lineup. You're going to see 5 laps at the start of this, by the way, of pacing. Actually, 2 will be spent behind the iRacing pace truck, and then 5 out there on the racetrack. Because of the way that the iRacing servers work, they have to end up manually setting the grid. So they give themselves a 5-lap window to actually get themselves sorted. So let's go down your starting grid here for this feature event. It's going to be Chris Brenner, starting it out on the pole position with Tim Smith in second, Alex Bergeron and Dylan Semmelman in that second row, Robert Kurtzeder and Trevor Royer on the third row, Batista and Nate Davis row number 3, Miller and Hewitt row 4, Walker and Heileman row 5, Speidel and Sheridan row 6, LaPresto and Garris row 7, Hill and Gilbert on row 8, Renner and Steele row 9, Jones and Miller row 10, and row number 11 tonight will be Travis Smith and Mr. Skenzo. So this is going to be an exciting one to finish this one out.
It is going to be very exciting, and we're seeing some heavy hitters back there starting at the back of the pack. Didn't get the finishes that they wanted in our Heat C and B mains. Most notably, Hewitt starting way back in the pack, but then we have Hillerman and Walker right there beside each other. So we're going to have to see if these drivers can make their way up through the top 2 of the Heat and see if they can come out here and battle for the win.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Like you said, Lewis Hewitt, because he got in, he was really the only driver throwing that trophy dash to get into some big problems. He's going to be starting down this order. You also have a couple people that are going to be interesting to watch. You have Derek Walker and David Heilemann, who we just saw run through that B main. They were very fast, and they're really going to be the drivers out here of everyone that's going to be have the most experience on how this racetrack is developed and how this racetrack was running at the end of the night. So right now, even though the likes of Heilemann, the likes of Walker, even though they're starting deep in this field, the fact that they just rode laps on this racetrack, the fact that they just raced laps on this racetrack is going to give them, I think, a pretty big ace up their sleeve as a pace truck rolls off.
They will, and they were able to make the latest updates to their setup as well, so they could have changed a few things here and there just to get that car really hooked up and running, versus the guys that ran in the dash, they just had to go off of what they last ran at.
That's one of the big things, and that's going to be the big question. We've seen the top side sort of slowly become the place you want to be, of course, after this one, and we've sort of seen that top side also just start to die off, as there were a number of cars towards the end of that B main that were really running the bottom pretty much exclusively in that top groove. There's still some good dirt up there. You can still run it, but the problem is, Davis, is that the margin for error has gotten so slim to be able to work that top side of the racetrack that it was, earlier on you had, pretty much an entire track's worth of dirt to work with up there. Now you can basically only have enough room to pretty much set that right rear tire on the good dirt, and if you get it wrong, you're probably ending up in the wall.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think we're going to see more and more drivers taking a low entry to it just to avoid those bumps on the higher side, and then kind of diamonding it off of the corner, meaning they're going to take it up, they're going to go high off of the corner and then kind of exit low to get into 3 and 4 as well. So it's definitely going to be a lot of strategy playing out tonight, and I think these fans are in for a really real treat here tonight.
I agree. As pace truck's going to come off, and like I said, that's not going to signal the start under this one. This is going to go under what Mr. Will Vincent coined as a green-yellow situation back in the day. This is something that we've seen before on RaceSpotTV and on various special events. Basically, they need to manually set their starting grid, get themselves sorted. We saw this way back when in the Will Car Indy 500, a special event that Will Vincent hosted that featured 3 wide starts. So gonna be an entertaining one tonight as we get this field sorted.
So who are you locking out of tonight? I mean, we've seen these drivers run for about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours tonight. Who have you noticed so far do you think is going to be a real heavy hitter tonight in this A main?
I think it's hard to go with anyone against Bergeron, because Bergeron looks so strong at the end of that trophy dash to set the grid. I think he's going to be a very fast contender indeed. Dylan Selman, of course, Brenner and Tim Smith, we saw them run so strong at the start of this race as well, and in that trophy dash, Brenner holding on to that race lead to be able to roll them off from pole position tonight. He's going to be, I think, a major contender in this one.
I think he is too, but yeah, it's hard to bet against Alex Bergeron, but then you got John Batista too. He qualified with the fastest lap, but he's going to be starting in that 7th position, so definitely one to watch here tonight, as these battles are really going to heat up.
They are. Grid is still getting themselves sorted here, and like we said, after the 5th lap is when we will be going green, and Mr. Chris Brenner will be able to unleash this field of cars, of 24 cars out there rolling in this one tonight. So 24 cars, most cars we've seen on track for sure, and next largest with about 15. So it's going to be an exciting one indeed. Who do you think is going to be the big mover? Not necessarily someone who's going to win, not the person who's going to be up there fighting. Who do you think is going to come from the back of the field, especially from what we saw in that B main, and maybe pick up some spots?
If the 20th Derek Walker, if he can avoid mistakes like we've seen in that B main, it'd definitely be hard to bet against him. But then again, I'm gonna have to go with that 83 of David Heilemann. Now he kind of laid off a little bit at the end of that B main as he was just trying to find a line. But the way he was able to utilize that top side at the beginning of it, I think he's gonna be able to pass a lot of cars here tonight and wind up with at least a top 5.
So 2 laps of green-yellow before we actually end up running in this one here in just a couple of moments. Thank you once again for tuning in to the American Dirt Sprint Car Series. Again, this Thursday night, same time, same place, we will have their late model series running as well. as that is going to be an exciting one as always. Always good to have a nice full night of racing from these sprint cars rather than what we typically see in the official sessions, which the session basically launches and is completed within 10 minutes basically of as it starts. So to have something suck up an entire night and run it through the entire session is always a lot of fun, as they are going to be green this time by, as Chris Brenner is going to bring it to the start finish line for the first time. And I think that Brenner got a little antsy. I don't think they were supposed to go there. I think Brenner thought they were supposed to, and he went, and a lot of people reacted as well. It caught me off guard also, so we might lose a couple laps because of that in order for them to get everyone sorted. So a little bit of miscommunication, I think, getting everyone back lined up. So that's, and so unfortunately Brenner just showed his hand about where he was thinking of going. Let's see if he goes in the same spot or if he goes a little bit later, and if anyone's able to take advantage of that through 3 and 4 once again. And this one is for real this time. Brenner put 35 laps on the board as we are green for the feature event in the American Dirt Series, down towards 1 and 2 for the first time. Brenner's working that bottom on the slick stuff. Who's going to work up to the top, and where's it going to run as Tim Smith runs the middle, and that seems to be working pretty well. They're almost immediately 3 wide for the race lead as Bergeron. He's getting antsy, wanting it now.
Alex Bergeron, he's taking it around that low side, but then we see the 81 of Dylan Silverman. It's a 4 wide coming out of 4. Look at the 81 of Dylan Silverman, able to take that thing all the way to the lead. But now you have the 19 of Alex Bergeron still battling, using that middle line. They're 3 wide as they get it going side by side, going into 3 and 4.
Car around on the back straightaway. That's going to cue the first caution. Where has this racing been on Friday night dirt night in the sprint cars? 4 wide for the race lead, and they all held it. Excellent fighting, and Alex Bergeron is going to have that race lead and wrestle it away from Dylan Selman by just a little bit. What a run there at the start for the race lead, and this track is so slick right now that I don't really think, Davis, that there's a good line. I think the way these cars are set up is going to be the situation that sorts out where you run this place. If you got the cars, if your car happens to work better on the top, that's where you're going to be. If it's better around the bottom, that's where it's going to be. But my oh my, that was a fantastic start from those front runners.
It really was, especially that 81 of Dylan Simmelman. He was able to pass about 4 or 5 cars there on that start using that high side, and he's able to do that again. He's going to be going places, because what just an awesome piece of racing he did. And I've noticed something in 3 and 4. It's looking, I'm not going to use the word tacky because nowhere in this track is tacky, but it's less slick on that high side of 3 and 4. So we might see a few drivers get really up next to that wall, up next to that cushion in 3 and 4, and try to get as much speed out of it as they can.
So field is getting themselves resorted. We should be seeing the lights going out on the iRacing safety truck here in just a moment in this one, and then we will be going back to green flag racing here with just a handful of laps on the board. Still working only about 4 laps into this one, as it's going to be, like we said, a 35 lap run to the end. So 34 laps still on, 31 laps on the board in this one. And let's see, do those lights go out, and we'll be going back to green flag racing. We've already had quite a shuffle as Bergeron and Selman has gotten that race lead away from Brenner, and Robert Kurtzetter has gotten himself up there, and that's the main thing. You look at those second and third cars in line down low. That was our front row when we went to green, Davis.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. We've been watching right here. You got the 666 of Lewis Hewitt sitting in 8th spot. Still David Helleman in 9th. So they're going to look to make up a few more spots here before this race is over.
That's some good spots already picking up for Heilemann, considering where he started in this one, considering he had to come from the B main. So he's already up +1 after rolling off 10th. So as they roll themselves through here, through quarters number 3 and 4, Alex Bergeron is going to be in command of the field. And will he be able to run away with this? Dylan Selman up top does not have the reaction time he needs, and Bergeron's away early down this front straightaway, in towards 3 and 4, side by side for third between Brenner and Robert Kurtzetter, as Tim Smith's going to throw his hat in the ring, and Brenner gets it all sorts of wrong, clips that inside wall. He might end up on his lid, as there's now a huge stack up and down the field, but somehow we're still green, and it's only Brenner who's slow on the inside of the racetrack, stopped on the inside of the racetrack. He's going to try to get that car and look back to pit road.
He just hit that inside wall into 3 and 4 and just caused a big pileup right there. But we are still green as Alex Bergeron has the lead by about 0.4 of a second. Dylan Simmelman, that 81 car, still using that high side and using every single ounce he can. As you can see how much momentum he's gaining compared to the 19 of Alex Bergeron. And you've got battles behind him with the 27 of Robert Kerstetter, the 38 of Tim Smith, and the 36 of Nathan Davis are battling side by side coming out of 1 and 2.
Top three drivers all running a different groove. Bergeron down low, Selman up top, Kerstetter running through the middle as they work themselves through 3 and 4 now towards this motor race. You still have a couple of drivers working up high. Lewis Hewitt's gotten himself into the 6th spot, so that 666 machine in 6th. Your OCD should be happy about that as they're 3 wide between Heilemann, Sheridan, as well as Chad Miller down there on the bottom of the racetrack coming off corner number 2 and down this back straightaway. Heilemann, he's going to be the one who reigns supreme, but he's still lurking around that 10th spot as Miller tags that wall.
And we had a battle for the lead right there. Silverman was able to get right up to the bumper of the 19 of Alex Bergeron, and there's still starting to see Alex Bergeron use that high side and taking the 81's line away. So if he wants to be able to pass him, he's going to have to find another way around this track.
Bergeron tried the top, maybe didn't like it in 3 and 4. He goes back down to the bottom of Robert Kerstetter. He's still sitting there and lurking in that 3rd spot. Dylan Selman is closed dramatically, goes to the top side of the racetrack. Both of your race leaders and Selman are going to try to exit a little bit earlier, drive through the slick stuff a little bit. Does a good job, actually. Car seems nicely hooked up. Does Bergeron like the bottom in this end of the racetrack? No. As Robert Kerstetter is going to throw a move on Dylan Selman, not nearly enough to be able to make that stick here as they roll themselves down this front straightaway and in towards 1 and 2 once again, as they're still just like in the top side of the racetrack. If Selman wants that race lead, he's going to have to go low, and I don't think Dylan wants to be down there, Davis, because we've not seen him down there all night.
We definitely haven't. If he's riding right against that cushion, he's about 2 or 3 inches away from that outside wall of hitting it. He's definitely going to have to go low here because Alex Bergeron has stole his line. As we say that, the 81 of Dylan Silliman's going to try that low line. It doesn't look like he can get it hooked up as well as he can on that high side. If he's not careful, he's going to have the 27 of Robert Kerstetter breathing down his neck.
Alex sees that and he immediately goes to the bottom in 3 and 4 and says, hey, Dylan, look what I can make work. With that said, Dylan gets a big head of steam, closes a huge amount, and look at the bumps down this front straightaway at USA Speedway. Front tires coming off the ground multiple times from turn 3 to turn 1. From turn 4 to turn 1. We got a car around up in 1 and 2. That's Nathan Davis, one of your quickest drivers here on the night, 2nd place in qualifying, and he's going to be facing the wrong way and going down a number of spots here in this feature. And if you're that 36 car, not what you want when you're running in 5th.
Definitely not here. It looked like he was battling the 666 of Lewis Hewitt. It looks like the 666 of Lewis Hewitt just hits that slick stuff, loses control of it, and gets into that 36 of Nathan Davis and sends him around.
So that 666 machine once again. That's an aggressive move from Lewis, and I'm a little bit surprised to see that. It was super, I think he wasn't expecting Nathan to run that middle groove, but regardless, Lewis just throws a bit of a slider down low and not nearly enough of one to make one stick. I'm actually just not sure if Davis, had he been running that top groove, I think that's what Lewis was expecting to see happening. That 36 car was running up against the wall for the couple laps before that, Davis, and I just think that that Lewis would expect him to go up there, and this time the 36 set himself in the middle. So I don't know if I'd put that on any one person. It was an aggressive move from Lewis, but when you're expecting that driver up against the wall and he doesn't go there, not much can really happen.
Yeah, you're right there. As it just looked like it was more of a racing incident. But as we get ready for this restart here, lots on the pace car is still on. But I think this right here is going to be the 81 of Dylan Silliman's best shot to pass the 19 of Alex Bergeron, because he's going to be starting on that outside. So if he can time that restart right, he can keep that outside line, keep the 19 from moving up there, and might be able to pass him coming out of 2.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is Dylan's best opportunity to take this race lead. We still have 20 laps to go in this one, so approaching half distance on this 35-lap event as we have 15 log complete. And as the lights on that safety truck, are going to go out, Nathan Davis, who is between the race leader and that safety truck, he's going to come through and get back on that lead lap, and he'll be starting as the last running car in this one, and that's going to be hard work for the 36 car to somehow move his way up from where he is in that 21st spot. Excuse me, 22nd spot. Actually, he comes down pit road, so the end of his night pretty much.
Yeah, it is going to be the end of his night as they're double file right now, and yeah, it's definitely going to put him in a big hole coming out of here tonight.
So through 3 and 4, Bergeron is known for going early. So is he going to do it once again? This can Dylan get the reaction time? Green flag, and again, Alex does indeed go early. And Dylan did a good job. Not the greatest of work to be side by side, but it's still a good move. He's going to jump to the bottom as Bergeron tried to cut off the top. Can the 81 car wrestle this race lead away from Alex Bergeron? No, he can, as Robert Kurtzetter throws his hat into the ring, but no. Dylan Selman, I take that back. We got caution, so I think Alex just checked up there, and Dylan just kept his foot in it down the racetrack. A little bit of a pile-up. Seems like in the back of the field. Not sure who that was. As it was, well, this started on the front straightaway. This was Dakota DeCenzo, and who was that in the 26? Those two tangled on that front straightaway as Emil Miller as well. They made contact at the timing beat.
Yeah, they did it. A very unfortunate set of circumstances there. It just looked like it was just more of a bad start. It's because they were coming off a 3 and 4, and looked like it's a bad set of circumstances right there. As that's probably going to end both of those drivers' nights.
So, lights on that safety truck right now as we're pacing once again. It's been a very, very dramatic start to this race thus far, Davis. We've seen some fantastic racing, but I think as these laps have started to wind down, people are getting a little bit too antsy with themselves, and we're just ending up logging a lot of caution laps here.
Yeah, we are, and one driver that I'm not seeing make any head steam through the field, and that's the number 15 of John Batista. He's stuck in that 13th position, so he hasn't been able to go forward like I would have thought he would have, but gonna have to see as we're still gonna have about 15 or so laps left, so he's still got a little bit of time, but if he doesn't get that thing hooked up in a hurry, he's not gonna make the top 10 before the night's over.
Now, interestingly enough, Dylan Selman was awarded the race lead here, so that number 81 machine will be leading him to green, and pretty fortunate because, like I said, he got that momentum to take the race lead down the back straightaway as a caution flew. I think he had a nose through 1 and 2 as we're going to a single file restart after the we chained up some of those cautions back to back. So for Mr. Dylan Selman, this is the best situation. Not going to have Alex side by side, and you're on the pole.
Yeah, it's a definitely good situation for that 81 at Dylan Selman. We're gonna be able to see just what he has in that machine. Gonna see if he can play a little bit of offense and also play a lot of defense. Try to keep that 19 of Alex Bergeron behind him.
So, coming to the end of this one here tonight, iRacing Pace Truck coming on towards pit road, and will Dylan Selman be able to win the season opener here at USA, or will Bergeron, Kurtzetter, so Tim Smith or Lewis Hewitt have something to say about it? Green flag flies, Selman gets on the go pedal, and they're rolling and bouncing in towards corner number 1 and 2. Selman to the bottom, Bergeron on top. It's the exact opposite of what we saw about 10 laps ago.
It is. It still makes a little bit of loose coming under that corner. It gets on that high side coming into 3 and 4. You see Alex Bergeron just starting to breathe down his neck, and as they're both utilizing that high side out of 3 and 4 as they come across the start and finish line.
If you look down that front straightaway, you can see there's some slick spaces. That's where these cars have been bouncing and taking that good tacky dirt away, and where the bumps are on the racetrack is Bergeron up top. Gets a big head of steam and is side by side with the 81 and Selman. Trying to work that cushion is the 19 car, and gonna be 3 wide as Kurtzetter throws his hat of the ring, and Bergeron muscles his way through the middle. Noses with Selman. Doesn't quite take the race lead at the stripe. Just they had to go to the 10,000th of a second to score that one for Selman. Bergeron takes the lead for a moment, but again, Selman rustles his way back down on the bottom. Great physical racing here for your race lead between 3 or 4 talented drivers, and they're 3 wide again for the race lead.
Had to check and make sure it wasn't Thursday. These drivers were in those late models. They are beating him, banging here for the lead right now. Alex Bergeron, the 19, uses that high line, comes up in the corner. The number 81 of Dylan Selman is still able to utilize that high side and get past him right here as we see the 81 go on the low side. 19 of Alex Bergeron on the high side is going to get the momentum coming out of 3 and 4, get right behind him. He's not going to be able to get beside him as they go into 1 and 2.
So Selman has the lead for now, and he's able to cut off Bergeron. Robert Kurtzetter wants to try to take that second spot away from Bergeron, and this might be his opportunity. He's pulled alongside down the back straightaway, going to slot himself down along the bottom of the racetrack, and we've seen that top line sort of struggle through the center, but no, it seems like the top side is where you want to be if you can't angle off that corner on the bottom. Everyone bouncing and bobbling down this front straightaway. Bergeron goes to the top, Selman to the bottom, and this might be a mistake. Selman gets loose, and he's going to drop a half dozen spots or more as Dylan throws this race win potentially away.
he does is he lost it going into the middle of 1 and 2 right there. The car almost went spinning around, but he was able to regain control of it. But that's going to put him way back in the field as we got contact right ahead of him. He's going to take him 3 wide going into the corner. He's going to take 2 spots right there. He's going to keep battling to try to get up there towards the front.
David Highland's going to hold on, so it's not going to be 2 spots just yet, but a big slider from Semmelman immediately into 3 and 4 to try to cut off David Highland, and he does sort of force him up at the wall, and this gets the 20 machine caught up in it. We're going to have a 3-car incident on the front straightaway that was sort of caused by Semmelman moving that car up the racetrack and just making that 83 machine of Heilman have to stomp on the brakes. 20 car of Derek Walker and Lewis Hewitt, the 666, really had nowhere to go as they all just sort of piled into one another. In the 15 car of John Batista, who quickest car in qualifying, he gets caught up in that incident, and he was running about 8th or 10th at one point. Now he's going to drop way down the field. We're only going to have a couple more laps of running once we get back to green.
Very unfortunate for that 20th Derek Walker as he was able to battle his way up to the front of the pack. And this is very unfortunate circumstances right there. But then again, that 81 of Dylan Simmelman, he needed this restart right here to get caught up to the field. He's going to be starting 4th and on that that outside row. So he's going to get quite a bit of work to make up here to regain that race lead. So we're going to have to see how things play out here. And I think he might have lost a little bit of control of his car as his races went on, so he's going to have to be able to regain control and see what he can do.
Now here's the question I have to ask to you, Davis. Who was the worst example of losing control? Was it Semmelman or was it Brady?
I'd have to say Semmelman because he was in the lead right there and he lost the lead in the A main, so you got to go with him right there. But he was able to regain control of it and defuse the situation because it could have been a lot worse.
So with that, looks like we're going to be getting a restart with about 4 or so laps to go. The field is forming up double file, and that's going to be interesting because they were single file in the last one. So not sure if Race Control is having a little bit more faith in these guys or what, but if we get another caution, that's pretty much going to end this thing as the lights should go out this time by. So by my calculations, we're going to have lap 38, 39, and 40 to, 33, 34, and 35 to end this thing. So a 3-lap sprint for this one for Alex Bergeron to maybe take this home, or for Kurtsetter, Smith, Semmelman, or Hewitt to upset.
Well, hey, Kurtsetter right there, he's been kind of lurking back and watching things play out, so don't count him out as he definitely has a shot to win this thing.
So down this back straightaway as Alex Bergeron is going to look to get a start. Where will he go? We've seen him work the bottom. We've seen him work the top. We've seen all of these drivers have to work every single side of this racetrack. David Heileman has done a good job to get himself up into this 6th spot in that 3rd row, but as the safety truck comes on to pit road, field is in command of Alex Bergeron, and as is tradition, he goes early as Robert Kurtsetter does not get a good jump, and Selman's immediately side by side with him, and he, I think, is going to look keen on taking that 2nd spot off of corner number 2.
He is, but not yet, as Robert Kurtsetter still gains that 2nd position. He's still going after the 19 of Alex Bergeron.
Selman's in the wall up top, and it's going to be 2 laps to go. He's going to have to fight with David Heileman, but we have to watch this battle for the race lead as Bergeron and Kurtsetter are nose to tail in towards 1 and 2. 27 slides up the racetrack, trying to get any sort of tacky dirt he can to get some drive off that right rear tire, and in towards 3 and 4. 19 still working the bottom. Flagman waving that white flag in the air off across the front straightaway for the penultimate time. In towards 1 and 2, Kurtsetter has to reel in a couple car lengths to have any hope in this one as Bergeron cuts off the bottom, and he's not quite going to get there through 1 and 2 for the final time. Down this back straightaway and in towards 3 and 4. Bergeron has a couple car lengths, and I think as long as he's nice and smooth down there along the bottom, 19 car of Alex Bergeron is going to hold on and win here at USA Speedway into the American Dirt Series. We've got a big pile up. I think Dylan Selman's upside down, handful of cars upside down across the stripe.
Wow, just what an awesome finish there as they were battling with every tooth and nail. Tim Smith was able to gain about 2 spots out of 3 and 4 on that last corner right there. But what an awesome race as Alex Bergeron is going to take the win here tonight, and Robert Kurtsetter is going to be sitting in 2nd spot, and Dylan Selman is going to finish in that 4th position. So while it's a good finish, it's definitely not the night he was hoping for after he was running up front for almost the entirety of that A main.
think you're right about that, but someone who is a happy camper is that 19 car of Alex Bergeron, as he parked that car down on the front straightaway in that little victory, we'll call it the victory pimple down there on that front straightaway, and that is going to be the end of the opening round for the American Dirt Series here on RaceSpot TV as the fireworks are going off. And let's go down your post-race results after your feature event. So it's going to be Alex Bergeron taking the win over Robert Kurtzetter in the second spot. Tim Smith has a good run for third, and Dylan Selman, what a show he put on, being part of the race lead, 3 wide multiple times. Unfortunately, just makes one little mistake, and it cost him big. I think he was going to win this race if he could stay up front. Lewis Hewitt will finish 5th. Trevor Royer 6th. Anthony Lepresto in the 7th spot. Chris Brenner 8th. He was your pole sitter in this feature, and what a way for him to unfortunately not show this, not get a good finish after that. Well, further up the field, let's say, Chad Miller is in 9th, and Brad Speidel, he'll round out your top 10. Michael Sheridan in 11th, Travis Smith in 12th, Kyle Gilbert 13th, Brandon Steele 14th, Brock Garris in 15th, Stephen Hill 16th, Derek Walker 17th, David Heileman 18th, David Jones 19th, Nathan Davis 20th, 21st John Batista, followed by Emil Miller, Dakota DeKenzo, and Terry Renner will round out the last place running cars. We're getting a look at the last couple laps of Dylan Selman from the end of that race, and my oh my, that 81 car was that an exciting ride to the checkers there through those last couple laps.
It was a very exciting ride for sure, and he was trying to utilize any piece of that track he could to get around there to try to gain as much momentum as he could to see if he could have fought Alex Bergeron.
Was you see him right up toward that 81 car, just so physical for Dylan, having to put that car in the right places at the right time, and well, he'd managed to do so just here in this one. As we're gonna step away after that replay, do a nice little you get a quick little break, and then give you post-race coverage here from the American Dirt Series season opener from USA International Speedway. Don't go away. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live as post-race coverage coming at you from the American Dirt Series presented by Southern Indiana Lawn Care and the season opener in the 360 wing sprint cars here from the USA International Speedway. What a run it was, and the man who brought it home was the number 19 of Alex Bergeron, who we're stood by down here in Victory Lane here in just a moment. Alex, what a run it was from you. You weren't dominant all night. You were good in the heat. You were definitely quick in that trophy dash, which set the grid for the A main, but you seemed nice, cool, and collected in that one. But man, oh man, did you and the likes of Robert and Dylan and everyone who's running up front have to take the gloves off. That was a slugfest in the feature. How was it on board that 19?
Oh, that was actually very fun. The track was it was very slick, and me and Dylan, Robert had a very good race, exchanging position, slide jobs, and changing lanes, and from top to bottom. I mean, that was a blast.
And now talking about, first things first, you run in that 410 wing sprint car. We see you consistently on Friday Night Dirt Night. We've been watching you for the better part of 3/4 of the year. 360 sprint car. Identical cars, but the power is the main difference. About 180 horsepower difference between the 410 and the 360. That 410 car pumping out about 900 and then rolling it down to about 720 for the 360. But because of that power differential, what kind of things are different in terms of the driving style in the car? Is it mostly the same? Because I know the 305 is a bit more of a momentum-based machine, but in this thing, how different is it? Do you like it more? Do you like it less? How does it compare to the big car?
Actually, I like every sprint cars, but the 360, it's pretty much like a 305. You gotta keep the momentum as well. It's a little bit less, but you gotta keep it as well, and that's why when you guys see on the top when we run there, we gotta go like straight, try to go and not at the wall as well, and the bottom it's the same thing. We gotta stop and then go, and we cannot be sideways because we're not fast that way.
Now, talking about this American Dirt Series, like you said, most of the stuff we're used to seeing in you. I know you do some other league stuff, but nothing we produce, sad face. But in the American Dirt Series, it's a full night of racing. There's so many more laps that are put into this racetrack, and because of this racetrack gets so much slicker than we typically see on Friday Night Dirt Night, which is basically just qualifying, a couple of heats, a short B main, and then just a feature event. How different do you have to approach this track when the track gets this slickened off and you have those big ruts on the front and back straightaway that are basically just like a whoop section on a supercross track leading you into the corners?
Well, we gotta be patient. I mean, the track is, you gotta be patient with it. It's not like one groove like in the middle of the corner. It's all the way to the top, and we gotta be very patient with it. But in terms of the format of the races, it's my first time in this league, and I really love the format because it's like a real night of racing. It's like lasts about for 3 hours now, I think, and
Yes, sir.
it's very fun. I mean, we got B mains, we got practice, time trials, and everything. It's very realistic, and I like that. It's pretty fun.
Uptime on the live stream is 2 hours 45 minutes, so you were quite close in your estimation of that one. But Alex, that drill spill car comes out, takes a big win in the season opener. Before we let you go, any shout outs, and who would you like to thank as we expect to see you run strong next week at Eldora?
Oh, definitely. I'd like thanks to the drill spill, Ashton Crowder, their collective, their car racing, Mar Inc., and the league for putting this up, Team VLR for the team, and RaceSpot.TV for the broadcast. Thank you guys. See you next week.
Yep, good luck to you next week. Actually, before you go, you going to be in the late models Thursday?
Not really. I will be. I got some other stuff to do, so I will not be there. I'm just trying to do all my stuff in sprint cars, and putting my effort into NASCAR Peak.
All right, well, good luck on that. Again, hope to see you next week as we're going to move on down the line. And Davis, you're stood by with second place finisher in the feature tonight, Mr. Robert Kurtsetter. And boy, oh boy, that 27 car, he had an entertaining run as well.
Hey, Robert Kersetter, this is Davis Richards up here in the Race Spot booth. Man, we were watching you all night long. We even watched you battle for that lead in a very slick track with very, very tough racing conditions. Man, how was it out there tonight?
Actually, my car felt pretty darn good, especially through the middle there. It felt real good, honestly. The only part it was a little rough for me is the top of the track was super bumpy there, and it was kind of rough getting in. But other than that, I thought it was pretty darn good.
we did a heck of a job wheeling that thing around there. But you think if you would have done anything different, maybe changed something here in the setup, or maybe tried a different line on that last green flag run, do you think you would have had anything for Alex?
Maybe been a little more aggressive, I guess. Right before it went to caution there, man, I thought I could get him. I thought I had him right there, and then it went to caution. So, but the car was super fast at the end there for sure.
So we talked to Alex, and he said he was a really big fan of the racing format they have over here at the American Dirt Series. What is your opinion on the format? Do you like how the night played out, or what was your opinion on the situation?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's like a real show. I mean, that's great. I mean, it really, it's a blast doing that. It's more, it's more realistic to me.
All right, well, again, Robert, congratulations on your second place finish. We look forward to seeing you run next week at Eldora, and look to talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, guys.
So that was Mr. Rob Kurtzener, second place finisher tonight, and boy, oh boy, was that car hooked up. But another person who is hooked up tonight was that third place runner of Tim Smith in that number 38 car. And Tim, who we now have stood by, good night of running from you. You started second place on the grid, and there were a lot of fast race cars with the likes of Alex and Dylan and a handful of other names behind you. I don't think that you'd have expected to hold on to that spot, but the fact you only ended up a net loss of one position, think that number 38 car has to be happy.
Oh, for sure. This is definitely probably some of the toughest guys in sprint cars on iRacing to be racing against, so come out third, you can't really be mad at it,
Now for you, Tim, I mean, it was, like I said, a fantastic night of racing for you. We saw you run in that third heat race, get that second spot, and basically have a good night of running all night. How much did that track really change, and how much did you have to change these cars between those heat races, the Trophy Dash, and this feature event? Because we saw that, I mean, even in the heats, the track was still nice and tacky for the most part, but once we got to this feature event, it was really, really, really slick. What all do you have to change in these cars as these long sessions go on compared to what we usually get in the official stuff?
Oh, the track definitely really slicked off. I knew it was going to be real slick for the feature, so I pulled a little stagger out of the car and changed some stuff up with some turns in the rear end to try and, I was really planning on just running the middle the whole race. You run less fuel doing that too. You're on the gas a lot less. Sort of worked out. I was hanging with the leaders, but I don't think I really had much for them.
Well, it's hard to have something for a lot of the names that are in this championship because these are some of the aces and in all the sorts of sprint car championships we have, be it the VLR stuff, be it here at American Dirt Series, Friday Night Dirt 9, and of course, once we get that World Championship, I think there's a number of people in this grid that we will be seeing with the black stripes, and that eventually comes out. But Tim, going to be going to Eldora next week. It's actually technically a smaller lap, but I would say Eldora feels like a bigger racetrack than USA Speedway. How are you feeling around that place at Eldora?
I feel pretty good about it. It's definitely one of my better tracks that we have on here. So I feel like I got a pretty good setup for it, and we should have a pretty good showing for the UW Motorsports crew.
Good job, Tim. Congratulations again on the super strong showing. Before we let you go, any shout outs, and who would you like to thank?
Definitely my team here at UW, like I mentioned. I think we had 4 or 5 of them in the A main there, so it's not a bad deal. Tough break for Brenner. He started on pole, and I think he had an issue with his VR headset. Something happened there. I think he was in the lead when that happened. Yeah, that's what happened to him. And just you guys for broadcasting this deal for us, putting us out there. Appreciate it, and everybody at American Dirt Series.
Well done once again, Tim. We going to see you in the late models, or are you just an open wheeler?
I pretty much stick with the sprint cars. I'm not very good in late model.
I see I'm the same way. I'm an open wheel guy myself. So I hope to see you run strong next week at the big track at Ohio.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Davis, that was an entertaining night of running for the opening round of the American Dirt Series presented by Southern Indiana Lawn Care. It'd be one of the worst sponsors if it was prevented by Southern Indiana Lawn Care. But fantastic night of racing to kick things off. Any final thoughts from you?
And just what an awesome night of racing. And just gotta, if the viewers like what they've seen here tonight, then we've got a whole season of this action taking place on Mondays and Thursday nights with the late model. So just tune in here to Race Spot, and I hope to be back soon. I hope to be back next Monday and watch these boys give it another go at Eldora.
And before then, as he just said, coming this Thursday, the American Dirt Series returns to RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live as we bring their late model setup here to USA International, and it will once again be another full format night of racing just like we saw then. So be sure to tune in on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for that, and that is going to be an entertaining night of racing for sure. The late models have been brilliant on Friday Night Dirt Night, and I think that when you put some of these drivers into a more administered, let's say, sort of racing like we saw tonight, after all, you guys have seen the sprint car nights on Friday Night Dirt Night. They've sort of let down, but this one is phenomenal. If we're going to step up the game that much, that late model race, we might just destroy the universe. It's so good. But from everyone here at RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live, all the sponsors for the American Dirt Series, the likes of Southern Indiana Lawn Care, CMS, Shiloh Forestry, as well as the Kings of Dirt, we hope to see you next time here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. See you then.